Alright people, welcome to the full-time show, a continuation of the halftime show where we talk about the biggest footballing issues in today's world right now. I got with the panelists all these wonderful peeps out here. You want to say hello?
What's up?
Hi, y'all.
Yeah, we're just here to talk about the biggest issues. Obviously, a lot of people are not here because of the Raptors result at the moment. But yo, we got big topics, and hopefully they all come in later on. Today we're going to be discussing about the UEFA competitions. We're talking about the Conference League coming in, and of course the rehashing of the Champions League in 2024 with the Euro. We're going to then talk about the Euros. Just talking about stuff about the Euros and what to expect. A big debate within the soccer world community actually is the players versus manager debate. Also looking into, because it is becoming a recurring trend of club legends returning to the club. We're going to do a little bit more with the VAR stuff that we did last time. We kind of talked about the rules and everything. This time around, we're going to actually analyze situations used by VAR. And of course, we're going to talk about the QATAR 2022 World Cup, as that's becoming a heated issue. These are all going to be set into parts. So if you want to watch the whole podcast, you can. If you want to watch it into separate parts, they'll also be uploaded. And as always, please like, share, subscribe to the Soccerworld channel, as it helps us to bring more attention to the world of football, and especially for soccer, Canadian soccer or football. So let's just dwell into the UEFA competitions. Let's talk about a little bit about the background, obviously. First of all, of course, next year the UEFA Conference League will be happening, the inception for it. It'll be pretty much the same thing with the Champions League. However, for the Europa and the Europa Conference League, second place will be matched with third place of the Champions League or Europa League in a two-legged knockout before approaching the round of 16. Neil, I think you have the image for that actually. If you want to just show that up. And just to continue on as well, the format will be like this for 4 years at least, from 2021 to 2024, and more spots will be allocated for the individual European competitions. And as you can see here as well, from the picture we have, this is pretty much explaining the thing that I was talking about. So you see the group stages there. Of course, as normal, the third place would go there, and you have the regular group stage. But the difference is the group stages of the Champions League, third place will go versus the second place in order to get to the round of 16, and the same thing for the UEFA Conference League. I just want to ask you lads about, is the Conference League really a good and bad thing, and your reasons why?
Well, it depends on how you look at it. I mean, fans will enjoy it, but apparently the players they're gonna feel the fitness and all that because there's too many extra games to play in a season.
Mm-hmm.
But apart from that, yeah, I think fans will enjoy it.
But when I think about the UEFA Conference League, I think it is an opportunity for a lot of the smaller teams to really build up, because obviously we know that a lot of the smaller teams, they do rely on like the EFL Cup, the FA Cup, and it means more to them to be in these competitions. Do you think it is an incentive for like the UEFA for a competition like this, even though it may not get a lot of viewership, it will help a lot of those like smaller end teams, and also a lot of maybe particularly weaker leagues in the rest of Europe to really build their way up? Is that a view that maybe some people may look at it?
Do you know the places that the leagues are gonna have to qualify for? Like the teams and leagues gonna have to qualify for the Conference League. Like if it's like 6 or 7 to 8.
I don't
for the
know
Premier League, for example.
particularly, but knowing the Europa League, obviously you have, what is it, 6th and 7th? Sorry, 5th and 6th, and then 7th is
Mhm.
more of a playoff team, so maybe that may get
Yeah.
scrapped up to like a 7 or 8, and then maybe 9th is a playoff, right? So again, you're looking at pretty much a lot of like the top half sides, or teams that do really well in maybe a season would get the opportunity to taste European football.
Oh well, yeah. I think then it's gonna give a huge incentive for like mid-table teams to try to push for a European qualification, because now they're gonna have that opportunity where for the Premier League example, you're not gonna have to fight with the big six or whoever's top six at the time to fight for Champions League Europa League spot, because there's always that opportunity that you're gonna have to finish mid-table, and you're still gonna be able to qualify for Europe. And then you're going to be able to have that financial backing from whatever earnings you make in Europe. So yeah, there's going to be a big incentive for mid-table clubs.
Mm-hmm. Actually, Neil, if you want, you can actually take the image down. I think everybody, gets the idea right now. Yep, close the stream right here. All right, but when we look at this competition, though, and I think a lot of us, we do support big teams. You're looking at Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool, and of course Spurs right here. You can debate whatever you want if they are a big club or not, but would it kind of like demerit if they do win it? Because obviously, I think the Europa League, you look at the prestige of the Champions League, and I think every of the big clubs want to be in that position. You look at Barcelona, Real Madrid, etc., etc. And of course, the Europa League is considered a step down. But do you think that even like the UEFA Conference League, it's more of like maybe has less, kind of like the similar worth or maybe even less worth than the EFL Cup?
It's not about the what. It's about a European stage for every team in the top 10 of the any league in Europe. So it's not about the what. They get the European exposure. That's the main thing. So most of the teams never qualify for any Champions League or Europa Leagues. So those sort of teams like Southampton or Everton, I think they did qualify. I'm not sure, but sometimes they don't. They tend not to qualify. So that time they're usually given the opportunity to taste that European out of the league football. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the
But
main
I'm
thing.
talking about in terms of bigger teams and how they would take if they were to win this thing. Because like obviously, we look at other like European competition before. You have the Intertotum Cup before, and all those other like European cups beforehand. But a lot of people don't consider them as like legitimate European trophies because they weren't able to last for a long period of time. Could this be kind of another case where they have like maybe the Conference League for like a couple of years, but if they don't get the certain rights and everything, it would be diminished? Because think about it this way, right? At the end of the day, UEFA is a business, and I think a lot of people would agree.
Mm-hmm.
If this tends to fail and not generate enough money, would it potentially be liquidated within a certain amount of time, let's just say?
Oh yeah, totally. I don't think it's gonna stick around for much. Small clubs already don't generate enough revenue, and the struggle. I think it's a good thing financially and popularity-wise as well, fame-wise, for
You mean for
smaller clubs.
right?
Yeah, for small clubs. It's not gonna affect much on the bigger teams, but for smaller teams, I think it's a good opportunity. I don't think it can last longer than 10 years max. Even 4 years, like if we're looking at the COVID situation, I don't think it will last long enough.
Well, good take, and I think it's a legitimate choice because realistically speaking, at the end of the day, right, it is a business, and
Yeah.
they're looking to cash in and everything, right? Which is a great point. So again, it's about like this like legitimacy of the trophy as well, right? If it doesn't last for a long period of time, it's more or less like a courtesy trophy, like the Intertoto Cup, for example. It's just there that all right, cool, you won it, but it doesn't hold any worth anymore, right? When you win the Champions
Yep.
League, it's like kind of like that final hurdle and everything, and it has this kind of prestige that even if you do win, let's say, a lot of domestic trophies, it still doesn't take away from the fact that you did win that trophy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think hence a lot of people think like, okay, I mean, there was once a point where the FA Cup, right, in England at least, was considered a really prestigious trophy, and it was considered amongst the masses that yes, this was the trophy at the time. Although now it's lost that kind of prestige down to European football being more favored, especially how it's more of like an international point of view as well, right? It's not just like looking at one certain league and everything. And I think that's as well with the whole structure of having an international audience and for people to look abroad when it comes to these certain things, because people want to see the best of the best compete, right? And I think even though yes, it looks like it's a perfect thing, especially to build up for smaller teams and for them to experience European football, it may not last, and that's I think we got to really look at it that way. Which also, yep, go for it.
Yeah, I just have one thing to add. You said that Champions League and Europa have this kind of prestige, like they hold this. I don't know what's the word, but they have this thing going on. Like qualifying for Europe is a big thing. It doesn't matter if it's Europa or Champions League. Well, for some teams it matters, Spurs. But like for smaller teams, like I mean, smaller in comparison to the top four. If we're looking at Everton, Everton would be happy if they qualified for Europa. If we're looking at West Ham, they would be happy as well. But if these teams get into the Conference League, I don't think it's bad for them. I think it takes away that the weight the word of Europe has. It takes away that kind of credibility. Like playing for Europe is no longer a big thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like going off that point, like for especially for transfers, for example, and you're a team that's fighting in Europe, playing in Champions League, Europa League, you have that kind of pull for instead of not wanting to go to a smaller club, like let's say your Evertons, your West Hams. Not saying that they're small clubs, but just they're not fighting on the same platform. But with the Conference League, I don't think that's going to add any value to wanting to play for a Villa, for example, just because that the league that they're playing is going to have more value than the competitions that they're playing in.
Right, and also the thing is, they don't need to do a lot if they need to qualify into these conference leagues. Usually, it's a struggle to get into any sort of European competition, even the Champions League or the Europa League. But it's gonna make it more easier for them that they need not do anything, just get a few wins, draw here and there, and then you're in the middle of the table, and yeah, that's how it works. The what do you say? The credibility is very low in that case because some underperforming teams, they tend to do average and they end up in a European spot. And Europe is a bigger stage for us, and it just diminishes the value.
For sure. But which brings me actually to the next point of view, because obviously we know that from at least for the next season, for sure it's gonna change. Like they're gonna have a conference league and everything till 2024. However, in 2024 there is a plans to actually change the whole format of the Champions League, of the Europa League, and of course the European Conference League, and the way that it's being done. So in 2024, they will change the format. So now in the Champions League, they'll have 36 teams instead of 32, and each team will play 10 games on a seeded basis, implementing a Swiss model. Now you might be asking, what is the Swiss model? The Swiss model encompasses teams to play against 10 random teams, which are 5 at home and 5 away. From that, they'll each get allocated points. So they're not going to pretty much verse everybody in that team. They're going to pretty much verse people that are random. And based on whoever gets much points out of that, they'll go through or they won't. 12 teams, of course, are eliminated in this process. The middle 16 will move to a 2-legged playoff. And, of course, the top 8 teams who have done brilliantly in the Champions League will move directly into the knockout phases. And, of course, with those 16 teams, they play a 2-legged knockout to bring another 8 teams into the bracket, which would then directly have to the round of 16. And from there, it's pretty much the same thing. 2-legged games till the semifinals. And then, of course, the final, it's a 1-legged match with a neutral stadium. Knowing this, a team could potentially play a combined matches of 20 games max, depending on how far they can go up to the final. Of course, the spots to get into the Champions League would also rise as well. They haven't really specified which spots for each league, But there we go. Now, knowing about all this, and especially looking forward into 2024, what are your initial thoughts and opinions of this whole reformatting of the Champions League that could potentially happen?
I don't think I can say or like tell how it's gonna be because we haven't seen it before. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. Like I have no thoughts on how it's gonna look like, but yeah.
I mean, let's look at it this way, though, right? Because we looked at this season a little food for thought. Because I think a lot of people, especially in a business point of view and a fan's point of view, we want to see more games. We want to be more excited about certain things as well. But we've seen this season, especially with things being really congested, a lot of injuries have been happening. A high tick of injuries have been happening compared to previous seasons. Do you think that this could cause like something in the future, and it would actually benefit more of the bigger, better teams that have bigger squads for them to really do well in this competition, especially how they have their domestic league to to compete in as well?
Well, from hearing how like the formatting is going to be, how hectic this season has been with the fixture conditions, it looks like it's going to be like that for years, considering how many extra games that each team's going to have to be playing, plus the addition of the conference league, if the conference is going to be formatted like that too. So not only the big teams qualifying for the first two European competitions are going to have to play a lot of games, but if it's like that for the conference league, so are they. If they keep the tournament, plus European fixture or not European fixture, international fixtures like friendlies, and then we're gonna have tournaments in the summer. And I think it's not gonna last that long if we're just gonna have a bunch of games and everybody's gonna get injured at some stage, because there's no way that professional players can play that volume of games for a number of years, let alone, or for like 2-3 years, let alone like 6-7 years, how long this format lasts. We're gonna have to see.
Yeah, and on top of that, if these injuries keep reoccurring, then there would be a lot of forced retirements among players at very early ages. That's the main problem. If the fixtures get more congested at this time, then that's the main thing that's gonna happen, and a lack of preseason tournaments as well during this coronavirus period, that would lead to a lot of injury issues as well. Like what's happening recently, it's gonna double up.
Mm-hmm. And we talked about actually the European Conference League as well, and how they've been struggling for revenue. It could potentially struggle for revenue and everything. Maybe this is an opportunity for them to really make those losses as well, because at the end of the day, yes, it may not be prestigious, but the more games you do have, the more revenue you do put, right? And especially when you have more of the bigger teams as well, especially when it comes to like the coefficient, which are actually a lot of the spots as well, they want to look at those kind of higher names as well. Like, even though there's teams like, let's just say, Valencia and like those teams that haven't been really performing and they've been kind of like a yo-yo thing, a lot of people may want to look at those because they have that kind of prestige and they would invite those fans because they already have like big fan bases in of itself. So maybe is that another way that they're maybe thinking like, right, these guys are probably lacking. As I said before, because those teams have prestige before, like Valencia, like Real Betis, let's say Deportivo La Coruña comes back as well, because they were known people in the Champions League, right? Let's say if they do have like kind of a mediocre season in the middle, and then you have more spots as well for more of them to come as well. Of course, it's not allocated for other leagues as well. It's another way to really make money out of that and out of those fan bases as well. Even in the Europa League as well, right? Let's just say a certain team doesn't perform to that standard, but still, and it makes you wonder, because again, the Champions League was originally made for the champions, right? If you won your league, and then of course I think the runners up as well for some. No, I think it was just the champions for all leagues and everything, right? They would all come in a playoff style to win, right? So then doesn't that also really, especially with format changes, really diminishes kind of the thing, because I understand, you know, you gotta move from certain things, but then when you switch traditions too much as well, right? I mean, some people make the argument that, you know, based the European Cup wasn't as prestigious as maybe the Champions League and whatnot, even though they count as the same thing, right? So, what do you guys? What are your guys' thoughts from this? You know, just with the format change. Yeah.
I like this format. Not the Conference League. The format of Conference League. I like that, and I believe that it should be implemented on Champions League and Europa League, because it is quite a uh, busy format. Like it keeps the teams busy, and not talking about the COVID situation, because during COVID, the schedule of like teams and matches, like it's already quite compact. But other than that, like if you look at Champions League is quite simple. Like you have a group stages, four teams, yeah, and then you go into round of 16, semis, quarters, semis, and finals. I think it should be more difficult in Champions League. It should be busier. Teams should have to fight for it, and not just see like. I'm not saying that smaller teams going up the ladder is a bad thing. Like we saw Leon. Leon climbed pretty high in the Champions League, and I think it's a good thing. But at the same time, teams should strive for. One of the reasons for it is most of the bigger teams, they don't have much good quality squad depth. Like the good players they rely on are usually bought and very expensive. I think this would like kind of initiate the teams, like inspire them to promote more homegrown talent. And there isn't a lack of these homegrown talents, let's be honest. They're just not being played because their club has more money and they can just easily buy the best player in their league.
Mm-hmm.
And for smaller teams, yeah, just one more thing. For smaller teams, it's more difficult because they rely on these homegrown talent. They don't have the budget. They cannot buy these good players. Some of them can, not denying all. But for bigger teams, it's easier. And Champions League is already an easy route. Comparing it to Europa, Europa is a bit busier. And then there's Conference League, which is like the whole new format. It's quite busy. Go ahead, Mitch.
Actually, I like that point about the homegrown players. I didn't really take that into consideration because we see a lot of youth players either have to go on loan tedious amount of times where they should be able to play for their home club, but they're not given the opportunity. And I guess with more game time, coaches are going to have to be forced to rely on the talent that they have in their academies. More so the bigger teams with the bigger and I guess you could say better talent in their academies, because majority of the times nowadays we're seeing that those players are being sold and replaced by already pre-made talents from other clubs. So I think that's actually a good point.
Here's what I want to bring up though, a quick thing, because you talked about like, because I think I'm seeing where you're coming from. You're looking at it in a marital point of view. You know, like, you know, the more they verse, and the teams they verse as well, like the difficulty and whatnot, right? Then it should be kind of deserved in a way, right? But isn't the Champions League also about like having those wonderful stories of these underdog stories? You look at like Porto, for example. Even in the European Cup, Standard Bucharest, they were able to win the Champions League. You know, Red Star Belgrade and those things, those magical moments as well. Isn't that kind of a thing that, you know, maybe sometimes you don't particularly want maybe those big teams to win, and it's like an amazing story, especially in a rich history where you want more teams. Otherwise, if more of the big teams were to win all the time, wouldn't that be kind of boring? I mean, you look at like Serie A, for example, and how they've been dominating. Bayern Munich, that they know the formula for certain things. And at the end of the day as well, right? We're seeing that at the end of the day, football, it's like the people with majority of the wealth would do more most well. Obviously with proper planning as well, but it does come to wealth as well. And I think, we can look at it in the point of view where we may not see those kind of magical moments.
Okay. As you said before, that Champions League is the League of Champions. Now, I'm not being racist towards smaller teams, but let's be honest here. It takes struggle to get there, to actually win it.
I can see the struggle as well that you've been feeling.
Okay. No. Look at Leicester. Which season was it? Was it 2016? Yeah?
2016, 17.
16-17. That season, it was a struggle for them and for every single club in that season. Every single club was doing terrible. And Leicester managed to stay consistent. They performed well. They deserved it.
That was 15-16. The 16-17, they got in the Champions League.
Oh, yeah, 15-16.
15-16.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that season. They deserved it. We can look at them and say they deserved it. But sometimes we look at the UCL champions and we say, no, that doesn't seem right. Like Liverpool versus Spurs.
I agree to that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Like sometimes, I mean, Spurs reached the finals. Yeah, that's one thing. Liverpool winning the Champions League out of nowhere. Like, that's a magical moment, and I think it's a special moment for the club.
Debatably, people are saying it's one of the best Champions Leagues apart from the final.
Hey, no.
Yeah, apart from the final, the rest of the semi-finals were...
Especially...
No. I don't agree to that one.
Yeah, but you get the point, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it is special, but at the end of the day, it's the League of the Champions. And I'm not saying that the bigger teams will always win it. I mean, I believe that it's going to be more difficult for them. Mm-hmm. And it might be easier for mediocre teams. Like, for example, if we look at... if you compare Bayern to... Real Madrid, they both are bigger teams, but they're both gonna have a different experience with this a busy format. Bayern has a lot of good talent. Mm-hmm. Like there's no denying that. Real Madrid, I'm not too sure of. I don't think they have enough homegrown talent, and it'll be a struggle for them in comparison.
Okay,
if you look at other teams. If you look at other mediocre teams, like for example, if we look at Dortmund, yeah, Dortmund has a decent amount of talent, and I think they could do better with this format than Liverpool.
Okay, you mean this season or?
Like generally, teams who rely on their homegrown talent, they would do better. Like they have smaller players that they turn them into stars, and if we put them in this Champions League with a busy format, I think they would strive more because other teams are going to struggle. They're going to have to keep up in the league and in their country tournaments and the European League as well.
Well, it depends on the depth as well and how where they're prioritizing, right? Because obviously when we look at bigger teams as well, right, they prioritize everything all at once, and they go for everything, right? Once they have their squad settled. Some teams, they might go for that moment and everything, and they've been doing brilliantly that moment, right? And I talk about when we look at some of the Champions League winners, right? I do think that there's a bit of fortune, especially when going to it, but I do think every team that does win it has a certain merit. You can't just say okay, yes, they have referee decisions and everything, right? But if you really were to look at it in an objective way as well, right? People turned up at the right moment at the right time, and that's pretty much what it is, right? And that takes a certain amount of skill, right? This is why Real Madrid, at this moment, they're one of those teams that are able to turn it on at the right moment, at the right time in a European prestigious tournament. So that's why they're one of the more successful ones. Even though they never won the league, like a lot of those times either, they always came out short, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, it's
Well,
very
I think
interesting.
I think like if you're comparing teams that play well in the league to playing in the competition, I think you gotta take in consistency. Like for to be able to win the league, you have to consistently play well for 38 games or however long your league lasts for. In the Champions League or the Europa League or the Conference League, you have to play good for one game and you can dominate a tie, or you have to play good for only a few games. You don't have to turn it up consecutively every single game on a long period of time.
Although to put
Like,
into
you just have-
context as well, yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, yeah.
The Swiss model pretty much is kind of like a mini group stage in the beginning, and then you, depending on where, let's say you're in the top 8, right? You have the privilege to sit some games out, right? But if you are in like the 16 group and everything, you have to play 2 more games because, like, you know, you were put in that position. The rest of the format is the same thing. It's still like a knockout phase and everything, and you win it. So is it really a difference? It's just more extra games put into the season.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
2010 FIFA World Cup. Spain versus Netherlands. Spain wins it. Yep. 2014 FIFA World Cup. It was
Germany.
Netherlands in the group stage with Spain, right?
Yeah.
And did Spain make it through the group stage?
No.
No, right? No, they didn't. And Germany won that 2014 World Cup.
Right.
We look at a 2018 World Cup. Netherlands didn't even qualify for it, right?
No.
They didn't even go through the qualifiers. Germany got knocked out in the group stages, right?
Mhm.
If we have a busy schedule and not just one game or two, like the FIFA World Cup qualifiers, they're a big thing. We see surprising results, like the one we just saw earlier this week. Was it North Macedonia versus Germany? North Macedonia beat Germany by 1-0.
2-1.
2-1.
2-1.
Yeah.
2-1.
Yeah.
2-1. Yeah, it's a big thing.
Mhm.
Like, you cannot ignore these matches because at the end of the day, these matches determine a good club. Like, if you put them through so many hurdles, not just one big hurdle, but if you put them through so many different hurdles, you will see, like, if they're actually a good team or not. North Macedonia could turn up on a FIFA World Cup final and beat Germany, but did they deserve it? Does that mean that they're better than Germany?
Well, I
Not
mean,
really,
dude, that's
no.
why you have like stages, obviously, right, in the tournament.
Yeah.
And especially in a bracket stage, right? That's why you don't have like
Yeah.
one knockout to determine like who's the winner.
Yeah, and I don't think for Champions League, like if we put Champions League above a country's league, then I don't think these smaller such a small format determines a good club, like the best club in Europe at that time. You need more matches, you need more fights.
All right. Well, interesting. We're gonna move on to the next topic, though. Anybody have any closing remarks regarding this topic?
I think we're good.
You're pretty good.
All right, then. Thank you so much for giving your thoughts and opinions. If you guys want to continue the discussion about whether or not the Europa Conference League is a good thing or bad thing, or the reshuffle of the Champions League will be a good thing or a bad thing, if you want to continue the discussion, please comment down below. We'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions of it after. So thank you so much. Let's move on to the next topic. The Euros. Mitch is gone. Yeah, so obviously the Euros has been moved. It was supposed to mark the 60th anniversary, but now it's the 61st anniversary of this competition. It'll be held in 12 European cities, though, with COVID restrictions. There it is, Mitch with his Portuguese.
Nice.
What is it? Where did I miss out? Oh yeah. So, I'm sorry. I'm just. So it's gonna be held in 12 European cities. You guys can all. Some of them are Budapest, Copenhagen, and all those other cities. The start date for the first competition will be held on June 11th, which will be Turkey versus Rome. And can we actually take a look at some of the groups for it, just to remind us? Neil, you want to take over that? I think Neil's gone.
You want me to do it?
He dipped.
Yeah, sure.
Hold up.
It's search up like the Euros
Yeah.
Euros
Your
table.
2021 group stage.
Yeah.
Or not? Yeah, group stage.
Oh, okay. Neil's back. Oh.
No.
Nice. Actually, Neil, you want to open the link for like the groups, actually? Just a quick reminder of it. Yeah, appreciate it. And as you can see here, of course, the group stages are as follows: Italy, Switzerland, Turkey, and Wales on the first one. Belgium, Denmark, Finland, and Russia in Group B. Group C is Austria, Netherlands, North Macedonia, and Ukraine, which is a massive achievement for North Macedonia, first and foremost. Group D, Croatia, Czech Republic, England, Scotland. Group E is Poland, Slovakia, Spain, and Sweden. And of course, Group F, which is the group of death. France, Germany, Hungary, and Portugal. Although, seeing Germany this year, I don't know, man.
I don't think Germany is gonna qualify.
Neither do I.
It's gonna be Portugal topping and then France coming second.
But
That's how I feel like. I don't know.
Portugal, or not Portugal. Germany have been on the down for a few years now. That even back when we're looking at the World Cup, like they performed way below the standards that we thought they were going to perform. Like they lost against Mexico, they lost against South Korea, and
Spain.
we didn't expect. Not the 2018 World Cup.
Oh, you're talking about the World Cup.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Portugal.
No. Not yet. But yeah, they've been on the down for a while, and I don't think that they're gonna. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna qualify for the group stages or the knockout stages.
Yeah, all right. Now we know about all this and everything. Obviously, we're talking about issues regarding it, and we did talk about fixture congestion with the last discussion. Although now we've seen a lot of players this season, of course, getting injured and everything regarding it, and we have seen some of like the teams that have been performing and whatnot. From all the injuries and things and whatnot, who do you think is gonna have like the highest chance, or at least match fit ready for this Euros? Coming
England.
June?
Yeah, I think it's England as well.
England's
squad depth is really good compared to the other squads as well. The France,
Other than
Or-
France,
it's England or France.
Or maybe because it's only England players that we hear about.
Okay,
they're all
fair
that's
enough.
that hype. That's a real thing. So yeah, English players are hyped a little bit too much. Let's say if they're from a different nationality, they wouldn't be put on the same pedestal. So I think English players.
This is
definitely have a little bit too
ironically
much
coming
hype.
from a lot of Canadians, by the way. This is a Canadian
Because
football or
it's
soccer
trash.
talk show and whatnot.
Yeah,
So
all England players are hyped, except Kane.
I mean,
Oh yeah, the only guy who's making the
By
England
the way,
squad.
Canada used to be a colony of England, so low key people.
bro,
are
we're gonna be hyping Canada when Canada becomes really, really
No
good.
chance.
I'm telling you, fam. When Canada has like that many players, we'll be like, damn, and all that good stuff.
I
But
think
anyways.
few more years that Canada can come up.
Okay, but we
few
talked
more
about like England, and you did talk about France. Well, why not Portugal? Why not? We look at that.
Well,
you look at their
if we're-
team.
If we're looking outside of squad depth, I think that Portugal actually do have a really good opportunity to win back-to-back Euros. I think this squad that we have right now is 10 times better than the squad that we won the Euros with. And considering a lot of the teams in this aren't as good as they used to be, I think that we actually have a good chance of making the finals, minimum.
Finals minimum. Ooh. What
Please.
what's as a native Portuguese person, also half Indian, and also
In the
claims to
Portuguese,
be
bro.
also claims to have a lot of other ethnicities that we do not know. What is the bare minimum for you?
I think we should make semis.
Semis, damn.
At least.
Semis is a
I
good
think-
shot for
I
Portugal.
think I
yeah,
think
so-
we have a really good squad right now, and I think that they'd be underachieving if they didn't make it deep into the knockout stages.
Yes, Akilesh, go ahead.
Semis, I wish we get to see another sport, Portugal versus Spain.
Portugal versus Spain, what?
Me too,
Yep.
because Nani's not going to be playing, so it's going to be a good game.
Okay,
Um,
I don't disagree with you, Mitch, that Portugal can make the semis. But looking at the group stages, you can knock Germany as much as you want. We're certain that France is going through. There is no way that like a squad like that is not gonna go through the group stages. I don't think that's gonna happen. But Germany, I think they can be knocked out, but I'm not gonna put it past Portugal. I think they're gonna give Portugal a run for their money.
Hey, look.
yeah, and rightly so, because not saying that they don't have world-class talent, because obviously they do, but I just don't think that Joachim Löw's system's working with the players that he has at the moment, and I don't really know exactly what's going on in that squad, but something's not clicking, and I just don't see them making it out of the group stage.
It's not this. It doesn't look like the same squad which beat Brazil, the serial winners of the World Cup, 7-1.
No.
It doesn't look like it.
Wait, who
doesn't look-
tops that group for you guys?
Which group?
France.
The group F or group E was it?
I don't know. It's a hard one.
France.
I'm backing Portugal to top the group.
Nah.
Damn.
Portugal-
I just want to
Chance.
see our head-to-head, because I know we've beat him a couple times after the Euro, or like at least once after the Euros. So I don't know.
I guess we'll speak about Germany as well. Who do you think should be the next coach for Germany? Looking
Big
into-
Sam.
Big Sam, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Jurgen Klopp.
He's not
I
moving
mean,
till
he's-
2024. Like he said himself that he's gonna respect the contract.
They're gonna have to find a coach soon, because after Euros, it's already been confirmed that Joachim Löw is gonna leave Germany. So realistically, they have to get somebody with, I think, a high ceiling. And
I think Hafiz would be perfect for the job. To be quite fair.
nah, no shot.
I back Portugal too, because you know, you already know that I'm a Ronaldo fanboy.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Bruno
Man,
Fernandes.
if Ronaldo plays, then Portugal's gonna come second.
Why?
No, chill.
Ronaldo is like the main.
No, it's
Main
Eder
hero.
the goat.
It's Eder, man. Like,
It's Eder the
I
I
goat.
mean, I respect Ronaldo, but
I respect Ronaldo too.
I think he's way past his glory days. I don't think he can do
Damn.
the same shit.
Think about it.
He's basically like Thomas Muller in 2014 World Cup. He's nothing better. Let's be honest.
Man,
here.
compare Ronaldo to Thomas
Don't-
That's
Muller,
why
bro.
that's
Don't
why
kill
they
me.
won the World
Muller's
Cup.
still good.
Think about it.
Yeah, Muller is still good, but I mean, I respect Muller, but if we look at his play style, all he does is good positioning. He has excellent positioning.
He exploits space.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
can say he exploits
And I think that's good, but that's relying on your team a lot. And we can't rely on Ronaldo. He can only do as good as his team does.
They got
Well,
a secondary penalty taker though.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
In the
Yeah,
last couple
true.
of years, we've seen him shift more to the middle. It's like he's kind of lost a yard of pace, and he hasn't really been dribbling as much as he used to in his glory days. So I think it's gonna rely on whoever we have out wide, whether it be
João
Bernardo
Felix.
Silva, João Felix, Jota, and fullbacks that are gonna supply him with the balls in the box. So
And also
I
on
think-
top of that, you guys have Andre Silva as well, who is in really good form for Frankfurt at the moment.
Yeah, true. So I think he's going to be in the squad as well. So I don't think he's going to displace Ronaldo, but he's going to be a good backup. So yeah, we're making out the group top.
You know, let's actually talk about because it's an interesting team that actually has been punching above the weight. North Macedonia. You know, Pandev has been doing brilliant as well. Do you think that maybe they can be somewhat of a dark horse in this competition? Kind of like with Iceland. Remember the time when Iceland beat England and then they actually punched way beyond their weight?
Mm-hmm.
Even with what is it? Where were they in the group stage? Were they with Portugal, I believe?
Yeah,
They were with Argentina.
and they came second in the group as well.
My bad.
Yeah, so I mean,
second or first, I'm not sure.
So could they potentially be maybe dark horses in this whole competition? Who knows?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think they're making past their group.
Oh, who's
They
the
were-
group again, by the way?
Netherlands,
hold
Ukraine,
on.
Austria. So
I'll just put it up again. So
I think other than Netherlands, then
I mean, yeah,
There's
Frank
a
de Boer.
possibility.
I mean,
Ukraine has been playing pretty good recently.
yeah, they
Yeah,
did.
but what
they
about
got
Austria?
a draw against France. I'm pretty sure.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it was like 1-1.
This
think
recent
about
picture?
I mean, Netherlands results haven't been. I mean, apart from I know they did win
That-
like 7-0, but
Yeah.
it's Frank
Yeah,
de Boer,
true.
right? You know, you gotta
To
look
be-
at that one.
To
How
be
is
honest,
how's he managing? How's he coach?
Yeah, go on, Mustafa.
yeah, to be honest, I don't see North Macedonia even coming third. Let's be honest here. Austria and Ukraine are pretty good teams. They have those players now. We can't compare their all these other three teams, Austria, Netherlands, Ukraine. We can't look at their past performances because every 4 years it's like a new squad.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of changes. I think Austria has enough talent to go past the group stages.
So you think Netherlands could potentially drop out then?
I'm not saying that Netherlands would drop off because I'm technically supporting Netherlands.
I mean, they're
I
missing
don't-
missing the Rolls Royce of defending.
Yeah, okay, but I don't think
Wait, is
they're
Gillett injured?
bad
You talking about
enough.
Gillett?
No. He's more of a Corvette.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, but obviously.
Wait, so
Mandel
which two teams do you see topping Group C or like making through top C?
Netherlands and Ukraine.
Yeah, I would have
Yeah,
said.
I would
gets-
back that. Yeah.
I think North Macedonia could.
Nah.
Nah,
Bro, you're not getting any points over here.
I mean,
Good on them. Good on them that they qualified for the Euros. But yeah, I don't know
Mustafa,
about that one.
how confident are you?
I'm pretty
In this.
confident.
You
I'm pretty
want to
confident.
make a claim to it?
Yeah,
they do
Netherlands
make
has
it.
improved. Netherlands has improved a lot.
Yeah,
Like,
but
past 4 years.
you're very confident. You want to make a claim to it, man. I'm just saying.
No, okay, not really, but
So you think that North Macedonia has a chance?
no, North Macedonia is
Okay,
chance.
then make a claim for it. Come on,
Yeah, North Macedonia
No.
is gonna come fourth.
Make a claim.
Yeah.
make a claim.
Come
It's
on.
haram, bro.
The group that I'm most interested about is Group D.
Yeah, I wanted to talk.
I don't
England.
trust that group.
You don't
Like
trust
anything can happen there.
That's a good group to be fair.
I mean,
Fin-
let's look at it
Finland-
this way. Croatia have been doing poor when it comes to qualifying. They haven't been doing particularly well. The Czech Republic, though, it's very interesting.
They've had a few good results.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Scotland,
We're
for the first
in-
time,
we're-
they've come to the top. They've done better than the Republic of Ireland in that respect. And England is just England, isn't it? So
Yeah, England is like Spurs. You don't know
Oh,
what
so
you're
they're
gonna get.
So they're gonna bottle it. Okay.
Yeah, you don't know what you're gonna get, mate.
They're not gonna win it though.
England.
I want England to go through. I want England to reach the
You can
finals
do
at
it, but-
least.
Do we want?
he wants
Spurs to
Harry
win?
Kane to win a trophy. That's what he
Oh
means.
yeah,
Okay.
the only hope.
No, England. There are a lot of critics out there. Yeah, that trash England. Like we just did a couple minutes ago, that England players are overhyped.
I mean, they have
And they're,
Lingard
they're
back, so
yeah, they get trashed a lot.
Mhm.
And I want England to prove those critics wrong. There's no other international team that gets trashed as much as England, just
Well,
because of Premier League's fame.
Yeah, they have the most media publicity
Yeah.
I mean,
in
that's
the
a
world. So
Eurocentric point of view. I mean, think about Spain and Barcelona and Real Madrid being in the tabloids as well. Could you consider maybe Spain being the ones that are, you know, very like spot on, like camera fixated as well?
I
Yeah,
mean-
I'm not saying that. Sorry, Mitch. I'm not saying that
Go ahead.
only the country's media is attacking them. I think it's different European medias that critique England's position in international football,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Like
think
if-
that's they deserve. England deserves more respect than that.
I
Go
mean,
ahead, Mitch.
if we look at the point that Thivian was making about Barcelona Real Madrid, for example, like nobody talks about the Spain squad as much as England squad right now. That's the most talked about squad in all the squads in the group, and it's been like that for years. Just because like obviously English, not just English media, but the English players are being broadcast throughout the world. So obviously they
Yeah,
get the
because
most
again,
publicity.
we speak English, right? So we're more
Exactly.
tied into it, right? With the whole Barcelona and people that support that, it's more of a cultural thing that ties them in, right? And I think culture brings a big thing to it. You know, it helps that England they speak English one thing, so then people are more attracted to it, and then the culture it spreads in, right? But then when you look at Spain and then you look at the other, like, I don't think a lot of people can connect to Belgium apart from Neil, who's
Mhm.
like showing his pride right
Of-
now as
of
being
course.
half Belgium, and then we
Uh-huh.
got Mitch, who's being, he's trying to pose as being Portuguese.
Not posing, bro.
He's
Bro,
actually
we all
Indian
know
trying to
you're
be
Indian.
Portuguese. Exactly. Just stop
Bro,
acting.
we know you're from New Delhi, man. Stop posing.
So, that has like a big influence when it comes to these things and whatnot. So, yeah. Is there any other teams that maybe we should look into that really has a big shot on it, or it could be like dark horses in this whole competition?
Did Mitch go to grab an Indian shirt? Oh, it's German.
Oh, Germany, of
same
course.
nationality
But
right
okay,
now.
you'd rather wearing the Portugal shirt than the German one.
No,
He's
bro,
gonna
burn
switch-
that. Burn that jersey.
I mean,
It's nice, bro.
Spain used to be favorites at one point, when they won the Euros twice, I guess. They were the favorites until now. Oh, wow.
Nice one.
This guy. All right, but one
we
final-
didn't talk that much about Belgium, and I think this is the last time that their golden generation is gonna have a real shot at a European trophy.
Mhm.
This and the next Euros or the next World Cup. So if anybody has anything on Belgium,
Belgium, if you see.
But I think they have too many injuries within their squad. Like Hazard is like not match fit. A lot of, I mean, Yuri Tillemans is the only person that I can think of in front of my head that is like really in form at the moment.
Well, Lukaku as well, yeah. He's bagging goals. this year, yeah.
Lukaku, Yuri
KDB.
Tillemans.
De Bruyne's bringing in the goals the last couple of weeks, so he's kind of
Mhm.
hitting that goal scoring form at the moment.
Well, yeah,
thing-
but then what about in defense? Who do they have?
They play
I-
Alderweireld, Vertonghen, and then Denier.
Oh,
They only
That's
have
why-
fullbacks because they played
That's why-
Meunier if there.
I think that's why like this is like the last opportunity that they have for like this generation to win a trophy, because Alderweireld's like 34. Same thing with Vertonghen. They have Castagne. He's I don't know, like 26, 27. So like their defense doesn't have any real like key players, and they're getting kind
that's
of
the
old.
thing,
So they're gonna
right?
gonna have to rely on their attack to carry them through the tournament, which they obviously have a talented attack. So I guess we're gonna have to see how they play.
And they have good goalkeepers as well, Castiles and Courtois at the
Mhm.
moment. Yeah, so they're safe between the posts, so they should be fine, I guess. The least that they're gonna go to is quarterfinals. Nothing more than that, I guess.
I see them making semis at least.
Nah.
Sem- Semis with the amount
It
of
depends who
players
they draw.
they have.
If any of the main players don't get injured, I see them going to semis.
For sure. If Hazard comes back into form, they
No,
can.
not even putting Hazard into consideration. It's fine if it doesn't play. Like without, I'm just talking without, like, let's say Lukaku, Mertens, De Bruyne, or
Yeah, Mertens, De Bruyne, Carrasco.
Carrasco. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
or even one of the defenders. If they get injured, then they don't really have a replacement for him.
You
I
know,
think they have Jason Denier as well, the Leon guy
Yeah,
in the
they
defense as
play
well.
most of the time. So it's either Will Merlin, the former Barcelona guy.
And what happened to Chadley? Nasser Chadley.
Chadley doesn't play.
He doesn't
Ask
play.
Mustafa.
He's gone, mate. He's gone.
He has to
Washed
go.
up
Used to be
Eric
a club
Lamela, man.
legend.
you know, we talk about it. What about
Hey,
Italy?
bro,
man?
he scored. Okay. Throwback to Nasser Chadli. I remember his goal against Chelsea. One of the most
I knew
memorable
you were gonna
goals.
say that. I knew you were gonna say
Bro,
that.
Where have I
Remember the
heard it
goal
before?
when Hazard scored the goal that demolished Spurs?
Oh,
You,
nice.
you
yo,
guys couldn't
you
You're good.
remember
you
you
guys couldn't
remember that
decide.
long shot P roller from Harry Kane?
Doesn't
Bro,
matter.
that
Oh my
30-yard
God.
screamer. Oh my god.
all right.
We gotta let Derby come to
Calm.
Arena.
Anyways, what about Italy? I know we don't talk about Italy, but I mean they've been doing
Trash.
pretty. Why?
I'm
I don't.
I'm gonna give
I
my
don't
opinion
know.
here about
Italy.
these teams.
Yeah, go. My bad.
Go
Go on.
ahead, Neil. Go
It's fine.
ahead.
No, it's fine. Go.
Okay. Like these teams that we're discussing right now, they used to be giants. Germany, Netherlands,
Spain.
Italy, yeah,
Uruguay.
Spain as well.
Spurs.
But they've slowly fallen off. Yeah, they're not on that level anymore. And we look at Belgium as well. I mean, never a giant. They were never even close to a giant. But
Mhm.
the players that they have, Italy has great players. Netherlands has good players. Germany as well. But it's their international performances where they fall off. And I don't think Italy or Belgium they're gonna rise that high. I think the international chemistry between the players it matters more than their name, like how famous are they or how many achievements they have.
Mm-hmm. No, I do agree with
This goes for England as well.
that.
Italy, if you consider Italy, they really have a good striker. Ciro Immobile and
Belotti as well.
Bellotti. Yes,
And
Bellotti.
then
I
you have
think
Insigne, and
I,
then you have.
Insigne.
I think they have like a good young midfield now. Like they have Locatelli,
Spinazzola is back.
Tonali.
Tonali,
Yeah.
They have
that other guy
Demiral.
that plays for Inter, Barella. So I think they
Florenzi.
have like a good like mix up in that midfield.
And then
So
Donnarumma as well. So maybe that could be somewhere like in the future.
Mm.
Could be big heavy hitters.
Most possibly that we
Yeah,
can think
it's
of them as quarters. Quarters is the
I don't.
highest
I don't see. I'm going to quarters as well.
Damn.
because
I think
the
round of
thing is
16.
round of
Yes.
16. Okay, because the thing is, if they bump into any bigger teams than what they have right now, then it could be nightmares for them, and they're considered to be a big giant. So yeah,
They need the goats, Emerson and Zappacosta, to carry them. They need them running down
Emerson
the
and Jorginho,
wings.
Emerson for
Um.
scoring those last minute tap-ins.
Yeah. One final thing I do want to close up on because we have been talking quite a bit on this. Obviously, we know about like once they do first teams and everything, but I do want to ask this as well. after all that's been happening, especially with the continuation of football and trying to get things done quick and fast, once the international tournament ends, who do you guys think is going to be affected by the most, in terms of international wise,
Oh.
squad depth wise, or like the squad, like like because obviously there's a lot of international injuries that come after. So
Are you talking about like which club do you think is going to be
Yeah,
most
yeah.
impacted by this?
yeah, we can go look into like clubs and whatnot. Yeah.
Well, I guess we can't really say anything for
Yeah, we
certain
can't.
because we don't know who's
Yeah.
going to be on that plane. I think once we see who's going, like cemented going to the Euros, because we don't know, for example, for England, we don't know who's going from Liverpool, for example. We don't know
I don't think any players go
Jordan
from Liverpool
if
with the
Henderson's going to
injuries.
go or not.
Henderson.
Then Trent
think if-
going.
I
Yeah, who knows if Southgate's going to keep him in the squad. I think he deserves it, but I don't know if he's going to be in that squad. So I think we're going to have to see once the actual plane, the list on the plane is going to come out, then we can say who's more or less going to be impacted by that.
yeah.
That's a fair
Mitch raised a good point. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Akil. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think Spurs, because Harry Kane is the first choice. Of course, they usually keep choosing Harry Kane as the first choice striker. So the Euros is very intense. So maybe Spurs will be affected. I don't mean to point on Spurs, but hey, that's been the case most of the times. Whenever Harry Kane goes for any friendlies or qualifiers, most of the time he gets injured and stuff. So that's the main thing. Also, maybe Dele Alli too if he gets selected. Maybe
I don't think
it's.
so.
I don't think so either, but there is a small possibility.
All right
Okay.
then.
I think Mitch and Akil raised a good point, and I just want to add to that. I think every country on this list will be affected. They'll be affected by injuries. But the ones that are going to get the most highlight are the players that play for Premier League teams. They're going to get the most highlight. They're going to, I mean, if somebody from, for example, Sevilla gets injured in the Euros, they're not gonna get that much highlight. But since Premier League is a really tough league, they're gonna get a lot of highlight for that, and it can be from any country, as long as they play for Premier League.
Well,
Yeah,
it depends. It's like people from the Ivory Coast. Do you think that they watch the Premier League more than like maybe Ligue 1?
Yeah, I mean,
Again, it really depends on the
I
country.
agree
right?
with that, but I agree with that. It can come from any country. Any country. But what I'm saying is that Premier League will be affected the most because injuries over there make a much bigger difference in any other league. Because there's a lot of competition in Premier League. That's what I'm getting at.
All right, that's a good way to end things off. To answer Mustafa question, do you agree with this idea that the Premier League will be mostly affected because it is more prestigious and it's more competitive in that sense? If you guys want to put in the comments below. If you pretty much want to continue this discussion with your discussion section, please comment down below again. All right, let's move on. Obviously the main man Hafiz, who actually has been complaining about like these a lot of things, is not here right now. I want to switch actually to a little. I want to go down a little bit with. Oh, all right, choose. The trends of the club legends returning to the club. We'll go to that section and then we'll go back to players versus manager because I think that's going to be a huge debate in and of itself. We've seen this season that a lot of managers that were club legends for them before are pretty much coming back. You look at the likes of Thierry Henry, Frank Lampard, Pirlo, coming into those teams who were club legends in and of itself and had very mixed results. You look at Frank Lampard, who did well in his first season with Chelsea, with the lack of transfers, he still managed to get them into fourth, but faltered this season. Pirlo at the moment kind of embarrassingly went out of the Champions League round of 16 against Porto, and of course for the first time ever not win the Serie A title after I don't know how many times they won it consecutively.
Maybe
But
like 7 or 8 or something.
7 or 8, I believe, yes. And then finally, of course, with Thierry Henry, for example, when he took Monaco, horrible job. I mean, horrible like stint for him. Didn't win many games. I think only won like 1 or 2 games, and then he was sacked. And they actually had to bring Jardim back.
Hmm.
Of course, these are all negative examples, but there have been success stories for club legends to come right away. You look at the likes of Pep Guardiola, for example, who, I mean, to be fair, he did have experience with Barcelona B, but that's Barcelona B. Comes to La Liga, absolutely smashes off the park, winning every trophy there is with his stint. And, yeah, did pretty well. And then you look at Zidane as well. In his stint, he was able to win 3 Champions League on the bounce, and of course, winning the league. And I think he also...
He was the same instance as Pep. He was only the manager of Real Madrid Castilla, so like they were both in the same boat, only managing academy sides, and then just flourishing out of nowhere in pole position.
Right. But here's my question. I want to put it to you guys. Are these types of players, that former players, quick to get these elite jobs right away, though? Even though, yes, we do have these Pep Guardiolas, we do have Zidane coming in and everything, but if they were to take, for example, like a Chelsea or anything, and we do argue that the Premier League is so, quote-unquote, more competitive in a sense, do you think it's more fair for them to actually get experiences within the shorter sides first before getting those elite jobs?
I don't think that like the pedigree of their legendary status should earn them the job just because they've been at the club for a long time or if they had a big impact on the club. I think that from the club standpoint, they should want somebody that's there with experience and knows how to win, so that they don't have to be in a rebuilding phase. That they get their man at the right time, and they play the football, whatever style they're playing, and they win trophies or they get themselves in good position to the league and cement the club in a better position instead of wanting their coach just because of their legendary status.
Anybody else want to add on to that?
So yeah, Mitch has got a good point, and also the thing is, the main thing the manager needs is a CV. When you look at Zidane and Pep Guardiola, they were dealing with B teams, which is kind of an experience, but still they were really good as tacticians or as managing the players. But when you look at Frank Lampard or Pirlo or these sorts, they don't have much experience, and all they need, and also on top of that, the tactics didn't work out with the players. Like Pirlo plays a different game, and UA wasn't the same as when they were playing with Sari. They couldn't adapt to Pirlo's tactics. The same thing happened with Frank Lampard. The influx of new signings, the after the influx of the new signings, the team looked clueless. Like I said in my previous videos, they were clueless. They didn't have a proper chemistry, a proper tactic. So that's what led to their failure. So the main thing is player management, tactics, a good CV. Um, I I probably think that Guardiola and Zidane, they were pretty good in terms of leading their B teams. So that's why they took a deeper look into it and they hired them, and that's why they're successful. So the main thing that mm, it's that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I agree with both of you guys. I think in today's time, it takes a lot more. Sorry. Yeah. It takes a lot more for a manager to manage a club, and we'll get onto that in the player-manager debate. If we look at Zidane and Pep and club legends, they had a lot more going on than just being the club legend. And Mitch raised this point. The mentality that you require is next level, and we can't see that as fans. We can't observe that. It doesn't matter what club legend they are. It doesn't matter what they did. It just depends on their job. I'm gonna compare this example. We look at Mauricio Pochettino. He played at Espanyol in La Liga. Espanyol are Barcelona's rivals, but I think Pochettino was the best man for Barcelona before they hired Koeman. I still think that to this day, that they should have gone in Pochettino. And Pochettino was fine with it. In the beginning, he said that like a few years back, he was like, I'm never gonna manage Barcelona, but before Koeman signing, he was fine with it, and they didn't consider him. And I think he deserved a fair shot at that time, because he has that mentality that Koeman doesn't, and Koeman is a club legend. There's no denying that. But club legend is not enough to manage a club. You need a lot more.
Yeah, going off of Mustafa's point, that's like a really good point on Coleman, for example. His CV at Everton, he maybe didn't achieve what maybe he personally wanted, and he got the Netherlands job, and he really didn't get anybody's votes from them because they've just been on the low recently. So for him to get that Barcelona job, I don't really understand how he really earned that, other than being a club legend, to be honest, because the last few years haven't been so good to him, and other than him playing for Barcelona, there's no real reason why they would have wanted him instead of Poch, for example.
All right, fair analysis, fair points from each and every one of you. You know, and I think you guys are more so on that because, you know, you look at managers beforehand, like those Mourinho, like even Antonio Conte, for example. He wasn't given like Juventus right off the bat, and he's considered a Juventus legend. He kind of had to work his way up to get there. Maurizio Sarri is a good example, who, you know, he was working a day-to-day job and everything, and he had to build his way up from the lower leagues to the top and everything, right? Another good example is like Brendan Rodgers. Villas-Boas was actually, I don't think it was considered like a top-tier player either. Or Arrigo Sacchi, that guy. He didn't play football either, but he learned the ways of football and everything. You know, started from the bottom and went to the top as well. You know, these are great examples of people that worked from the bottom to get to the top. So in that sense, do you think that, you know, when you look at managers like that who has those kind of credentials of knowing what it is to lose and to really take those experiences and everything, don't you think that's way more valuable than, even though, yes, players do have those emotions and everything to actually, you know, understand the game and everything. They understand the feeling and the emotion of what the fans are thinking. But in terms of the application and like the other stuff, and especially with football these days, there's so many things to know about, right? I think Mourinho, for example, actually said in his press conference that he doesn't consider himself as a manager of Spurs. He considers himself as a head coach in that aspect. I mean, you want to actually, Mustafa, do you want to actually talk about that as well? Because you would know more than I would in terms of...
Are we really getting there right now?
No, I know, just the fact that he considers himself a head coach compared to a manager.
Yeah. Yeah, but are we going to talk about the topic right now? That's what I'm asking.
I mean, okay, you wanna hold it for a little bit? Then?
Yeah, I want to hold
it. Fine. We'll hold it for a little bit because obviously my man Mustafa has a lot of things to say regarding this. Very passionate. But we'll move to something else then. But yeah, like, for example, that's an example of it as well. But still, like, I think a lot of people do look at this manager. Or you look at example for like Klopp, who's still kind of like a manager in that sense of guiding people and everything and whatnot. So is it important that there is someone that in that lower position that knows how to micromanage certain things, because that's the job of a manager. They don't just you know, like I said, like in basketball where they just be a head coach, they kind of micromanage every single thing as well, right? So would you want someone who has the experience from the bottom to build a way to the top, rather than someone who was a player that only did one thing of being a player and going directly into a manager role?
I think. Oh, Akilesh, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think what you said, it was right. Micromanagement becomes one of the major players in the game in terms of being the head coach and taking care of each player that they have in the team. Like, it has given rise to some legends, so it is it is a key for winning titles. It is a key for the legends in the upcoming legends and the legends which we saw in the past. Yeah, Mitch, go ahead.
I think the best example of like a good man manager in like the last year is Mikel Arteta. Right when he left City, you saw how our dip in form matched exactly when he left the club. So I remember watching a couple interviews and part of the documentary. Like, he's a big part of why our team was so cohesive at the time, because he's a really good man manager. He used to stay with the players and train with them or coach them when Pep wasn't training whatever time. And Arsenal, I think for majority of players, I think he's been a good influence on them, especially the younger players. And he at the start he had good results against some of the big teams, and they won 2 trophies at the early part of his tenure. Right now, maybe they're not doing so good, but I think he's a really good man manager, and I still don't think he warrants the job, but I see why Arsenal would want him as their head coach right now.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of which, we have Hafiz on the board. What's up, Hafiz?
Yo. What's good, y'all?
What's up,
You're
How's
lucky we're
everyone
not
doing?
in the player versus manager debate yet, which I think you would be excited to do heavily. But
Very
right
much
now
so.
we're talking about like club legends returning to the club, and we were just touching upon like whether or not club legends deserve those big jobs right away or not. And what's your point and stance on that?
Well, we're talking about positions in the club that's not directly soccer related, right? Not tactically related, right?
No, we're
Like
talking about like
management positions, right?
like the actual manager role in and of itself.
Oh, the manager role.
Yeah, the big Don fam.
I think as long as there's yeah, okay, no. I think as long as they've had some sort of guidance as to, how to approach it, or if they understand what they're doing per se. Because like we've seen examples of players being good managers, and then you've seen examples of of players not being good managers. And I think an understanding of the game, an understanding of the team, but more importantly, an understanding of leadership is what's extremely important. And if they have that, then like I can't see why they can't. Not necessarily right when they start off, but I can't see why they can't be a manager. I can't see why not. Yeah.
Who's there? Oh, we have Matusa now as well. Who's here?
Hey.
Welcome. I mean, do that's nice. All right, brilliant. We have a lot of people coming on. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So obviously your point stands in a certain effect, but how would you grade someone if you think that yes, they should be in the right spot and everything? Because at the end of the day, we look at certain managerial roles that do come into the job and everything, and they tend to falter. So why do some succeed in that case where they kind of more or less have the same experience, or maybe they have like little things that may have changed it, and like others that why do some fail in that point in time where they have a small amount of time where they're actually been practicing and then they do well with another team, and then some managers they do succeed right away? Why do you think that's the reason?
I think one part could be the environment of the club. If your players don't respect you, they're not going to perform for you. So you have to be able to provide an environment where the players will respect you. You have to show that you know what you're doing, show that you do, you know, care for your team, and be willing to take a risk when it's needed. But more than that, the one thing that I noticed that every successful manager has, like regardless of whether they're new or not, is a philosophy, a way of playing, a style, right? Whether it's a terrible one or a good one, they all have a style of playing. And so if you're not able to identify a style of playing that works or that has potential to work, you're not gonna you're not gonna you're not gonna get anyone who you're not going to get people to believe that your way of playing works. And if your way of playing doesn't work, then it doesn't work. It also matters how much pressure and responsibility is on your club. So Frank Lampard is a good example. He came in, or this year specifically, there was huge investments made, and so they had high expectations of him. I think those expectations were slightly unrealistic considering his situation, considering the fact that he's still a new manager. Um, and the fact that when you have so many new players in a team, it's gonna be kind of hard to get everyone to gel together at the beginning.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it's a club legend like that, I think one of two things: either you tell him, "Yo, take a break now," but we'll try to have you back later on after we get things sorted out, or I guess do what they did and just be like goodbye and who knows.
I mean, to be fair as well, when you look at the managerial job, you look at Klopp as well with the kind of like the inside issues that he does have, right? He's not afforded a time to like just stop and everything. He's kind of that person that has to kind of keep going, which is kind of sad in a sense that, he is in, once again, he is in the higher position, but there is a point where you're like, you're not like a staff or like a player. Like, for example, Alisson was able to take some time off because he was in that position that he, they could, because he is a player in that thing. He's not like that kind of main leader, right? In that sense. So
I did not understand anything you said.
no, what I'm saying is, how Alisson, he's a player, right? But his father passed away and everything. But because he's kind of like an employee in that sense, not like a leader per se, he's able to allocate time to have a leave and whatnot from the manager's accord, right? You can still pretty much call him back. And
at the end of the day, they're all humans, so I think they
Yeah,
deserve
I was gonna
that.
say.
yeah, but like, but
time
then,
some more.
but you look at Klopp, right? His parents passed away, pretty much, right? Sorry, not his. Was it
His mother.
his mother, right? His mother passed away. He wasn't given time to leave and everything, right? And
They couldn't leave because of COVID going on right now.
well, COVID going on, one thing, right? But to mourn, right? He still pushed forward in his own accord. Now, I don't know if they would give him a chance to do it with the owners and everything, but
no, like they would have to. If he demanded it, like if he's like, "Yo, I need this to function," and some people do need it, I think they would have given it to him. Otherwise, you'll see a significant decrease in performance. He's not gonna mentally be able to focus on what he needs to focus on.
that's true. But in a sense as well, I think some people are really cruel as well, which is kind of sad. You kind of push people because, again, one thing is you can look at it in a humanitarian point of view, and they really should. On the other hand, they are contracted in a way, so that's something that's like inside, and they were no. Plus, that the club itself actually hid the fact for a while that his mother did pass away during that time, and then it was only later revealed that because he couldn't go back, that's when it went over the news as well. This whole thing.
Fair enough, but no, with the Alisson situation, I don't think we should be giving Klopp credit for letting him go. I feel like that's like the standard.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
yeah, for sure. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve credit. I'm just saying the reason why that he would be allowed to go over than someone like Klopp, per se, like in that sense. But anyways, that was kind of like sidetrack. I did actually wanted to talk about in terms of like the style that the game in. Man United fans, right? Some Man United fans. Well, some Man United fans, they protect Ole in terms of like he's doing well right now, especially like he's trying to build a team, especially with his man management and everything. But other United fans, they do talk about how Ole doesn't have like a consistent, discernible style of play, in that sense. So, is it really a question of, and I mean like consistently, right? So, is it also maybe like other factors that do prohibit players to do better as well in that sense?
I honestly think that yes, Ollie is good in management, and I think his like you said, the tactics is here and there. It's not just the same consistent tactics. I feel it's mostly reliant on the players' abilities. So the players, how they play and how they control the game. That's how it mainly depends on. That's how they're winning most of the games and stuff. I don't know whether I'm right, but it feels like that because they've been on both sides. They've been losing, winning, drawing games. Yeah, so I think it's mainly due to the player abilities and the players' performances that they are winning. Uh, I don't see the tactics coming in most of the time.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else
Um,
want to add on to this?
yeah. So tactics is only one aspect of gameplay, because like you could as a manager you could assign a tactic for the team, but they might not even follow it, right? The other aspect is motivation, getting the players, hyped up when you're down. For those of you who watched the documentary, the Spurs documentary, like a very, very important part of it, of what Jose was doing was like at the halftime break, right? Tactics doesn't change. The only thing that changed is like, yo, get out there. All right, you could do this. Time to go again. Time to do it, right? Whether they win or they lose, like the tactics generally remains the same. I
Mm-hmm.
think what Oli does a good job of is motivating the team. I think he, in the dressing room at least, I'm not saying I see it personally because I don't personally see it, but you could tell usually at the beginning of the match, or at the beginning of each half, you'll see them performing well.
Mm-hmm.
They've had a decent number of goals in the first few minutes, penalties in the first few minutes. You've seen a decent amount of those. So because of that, I think Only is a good motivator, and I think that's just as important as tactics. And which by the way, I do think he has tactics, but it's not as clear, as straightforward, and it does change. So could he improve in that sense? Probably, but I still think he's doing a pretty good job and should be given time.
But
I
don't
think
you?
that
Yeah,
his
go on.
best position would probably be like an assistant coach would be like that head guy's right hand man because he seems to do really well with motivating his players to like if he said get early starts in the games and yeah motivate them to play. So I think that if Man United could get somebody that knows how to win and has that set style and have Ollie as his right hand man, I think that'd be a better mold for the club going forward.
Mm-hmm. It's a
Whether
very
he wants to do that or not, who knows? But
it's a very very interesting point. I actually want to pose this question to you, Hafiz, because I think we did talk about this a couple times when it comes to like club legends and whatnot, and then we'll dive more into like this player versus manager debate. I think it does correlate with it. You look at managers like Matusa, you look at managers like Brendan Rodgers, who had to actually work from the bottom and then build their way to the top to get into those managerial positions, and get those experiences and whatnot to get into those positions in the first place. Yes, you can look into it for the players that they have played the game a lot and everything. You may look at that maybe they do deserve it in a sense, but of course, in the modern game of football, there's so many things that you have to do as a manager now that it's unbelievable when you talk about psychology, when you talk about dietary, etc., etc. And the manager
mm-hmm.
does still micromanage things. Although I think a lot of managers are becoming more like head coaches. Like for example, the Mourinho thing, he considers himself more of a head coach than that. But do you think as well that those managers that do work hard to try to get into those positions in the first place, and they're not lucky to have those big positions at the start, it's kind of, I guess, insulting in a sense that they don't, because because they built their way up in the first place, compared to like club legends who, they don't particularly have to put maybe that much effort in a sense. Or do you disagree with that statement and give reasons?
Sorry. So if I'm understanding correctly,
Mm-hmm.
you're asking, is it unfair that managers who have to work their way up have to go through a process versus like a club legend who could just walk right into the managerial
Yeah.
position at the
Yeah,
top?
yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay. Um,
Because let me use this analogy as well,
I don't
right?
think it's unfair.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, let me just use a quick analogy. Actually, going about this, you
Yeah,
look
go
at some person who's been, let's just say, wanted to get this position at the job. What he does was, let's just say, this guy, he studies about the whole thing. He's done other like work behind the scenes to work for the job in the first place, to get into notice. And then there's this other person who pretty much talked to the person at one point and had a good conversation, and because of that, the thing and everything, maybe not have like those certain qualifications and everything, but because that person's known and everything, he's got the job. I actually know one person actually that she didn't have the proper qualifications, but because she knows the person and everything, she got hired into that job in the first place.
She stole your position, bro. I'm sorry.
It's for references.
Well, actually,
Yeah.
no, but it was
Um,
another
okay.
piece of business. So yeah, just putting it into that context as well.
So I'm actually gonna spin off of that analogy and give you another more realistic analogy. And how I see it is, think about like a retail store, right? There's the management position, and then you have employees who work there, right? A club legend is someone who's worked at the employee level for 8, 9, 10 years, something like that, right? So they've been there. They've never really had an experience like at the managerial level. So I think what's important is how much connection and how much knowledge has been obtained from that employee to the manager. So if the employee and the manager had a good bond, the manager did, show him, I guess, a bit of what there is to learn of management positions. Like me and my HR manager, like when I used to be at Canadian Tire, were really chill. Like he didn't tell me like some of the things he wasn't supposed to, but like he told me some things that I guess your average person who doesn't talk to him wouldn't know, right?
Mhm.
So like in a situation like that where you are getting the information and you are getting a bit of guidance, I think because an employee like that understands the culture and understands the environment there better, I think working from within generally is a better idea than, um, let's say, getting a manager from another position, so from another store, let's say, right? Now, again, there's another side to it where they have experiences, in terms of different ways of operating, in terms of different ways of doing, which can be very beneficial
Mhm.
for your organization. So there are both sides of the spectrum. I'm not going to necessarily say one is better than the other. I think, though, if an employee could, for instance, fill in as a manager at a night, like at a closing shift or something like that, like they have the credentials to fill in as a manager at a closing shift, if they're at that level, I think they should be given the nod to be a manager at that club before someone else, unless there's a dire need for change in culture, then that's a different story.
Right. Interesting point you put out. What I would say when it comes to the manager role, right? I look at like managers being like the top end, right? And you look at like different like other levels, right? In like a big time job and everything. Obviously, you do have like the little employees behind the scenes, but it's more of like a corporate thing, right? For me, anyways, let me use the lifeguarding thing as an example. So you have like your regular lifeguards and everything, and then you go, and then the next level is like head lifeguard, and then there's like pool supervisor, and then there's like the position above that, all the way to like the head of like, what is it? The head of lifesaver, the head of lifesaver. that is like the top position, right? And when I look at like the football spectrum as well, there's so many little other jobs that are needed behind the scenes to get to that top position, right? When it comes to like tactician, and that's why there are many courses when it comes to like, you know, management and everything. Especially right now, I think like you as an HR student, you do learn like a lot of like de-escalation, customer service, you know, all these other things that encompass it as well, right? So when I look at like the manager position, I think it's like a huge thing, right? And even though, let's say you're working for a lesser club in the beginning, right? There's less expectation from you in the first place, and they don't have like the certain facilities as like some of the bigger clubs that they do have, because again they have higher expectation, right? So in a smaller, oh god,
Oh my
what
bad.
happened? Oh my god, bro, that scared me.
No, just kid.
I thought that was your dog.
No. That was my brother, younger brother. Sorry, my bad.
But coming back to what I'm saying, when you look at those smaller clubs as well, right? They do have smaller positions when it comes to those things, right? Which they can build their craft easier, and the more experience you have with something, the more better. Now, for sure, there has been situations, and I do agree with it. Pep Guardiola, Zinedine Zidane are great examples of people that come right away. But kind of like with money, it's like putting it in a slot machine. It's a gamble
Hmm.
in a sense, right? Rather than someone that is like purely professional. So,
Yeah.
with that perspective, do you think that there's kind of a way where, you know, you're willing to risk that again, especially with someone like Real Madrid or Barcelona? Yes, they've worked as well, right? We cannot forget. But even Zinedine Zidane, arguably speaking, at the beginning, he didn't really have like that set style, but he still did predominantly well with the players he does have. Which again, I want to
Yeah.
also bring that to like the players versus manager debate later on. But yeah, go ahead.
Definitely. No, one thing we keep forgetting is managers are humans too. They learn and they adapt over time too, and we need to acknowledge that as a fact. We can't expect a manager to win. Like, okay, there's one title to win, one Premier League title. You can't expect six managers to win one Premier League title, right?
Hmm.
Now, those who are more established, who've had, I guess, more investment or a better team or whatnot, expected. Like, you expect them to fully challenge, you expect them to win. But like at the end of the day, there's only one title to be won. Like there are other cups too, but like one title to be won is the point. So growth will occur within managers, and it's also a matter of how patient could you be, right? The higher you are in terms of a club, the more desperately you need wins and titles
Right.
for like the monetary benefits and whatnot. So I think it's a matter of seeing whether it's a matter of figuring out a couple things. First of all, if the player who's going to be a manager, is he going to be comfortable enough in that role? And if that's something that they want to take and want to embrace on, you need to be patient with it, right? It's as you said, it's a risk that either could pay off and could work out really well, or it might not be as successful right now, and that's
Mhm.
a risk. That's what happens with a risk. But technically, getting other managers is also a risk. Like, there's no guarantee you're going to receive success from other managers as well. Um, Look at Jose Mourinho, Spurs. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring up Spurs.
We
But
never spoke about Jose Mourinho with Chelsea, bro. What are you saying?
I think we're more going into like
after
players versus manager, the ideology and everything. So I think like, does anybody have any like final remarks regarding like the club legends? Matusa, I know you've been standing here for a while. Do you have any opinion when it comes to this whole topic?
Um, I'm, yeah, I don't have anything to say right now, because I'm still trying to understand what the conversation is about. I'm still trying to get caught up with everything, so yeah.
Oh, okay. That's no worries. Do you want to maybe contribute to like the next topic that is happening soon?
Yeah, for sure. It's just,
All right, no
yeah,
worries. Does anybody have any final remarks regarding like this whole club
I,
legends? Yeah, go ahead, Akilesh.
main thing I forgot to say this earlier. The main thing is the club legend knows how it works in the club. In the club, how it really works. Being the player first, then becoming the legend, and then he knows what it really takes to make make things happen, and he has been through all the ups and downs. So maybe because of that, they get chosen, but it's not the thing. It's something more than that. Yeah, that's all I can say.
Okay, that's a very interesting point. But let me twist it to this way. Alan Shearer, for example, took over Newcastle, and to be fair, they've been in a bad position, but that wasn't predominantly enough to get them over the line as well. So, and then you look at many other teams as well that they're managed and everything, and they know what it takes. Roy Keane, people bigging him up and everything. He did well in his small spell, but then towards the end, kind of faltered. Gary Neville as well, who had that kind of passion and commitment and everything, even though maybe wasn't a club legend in that sense, like to Valencia, obviously, right? But he knows how to win things, right? In a sense, right? Maybe it's not directly towards their club and everything, but it is that sense where you got to look at it, and is really raw passion alone really, the final, I guess, nail in the coffin in terms of like seeing success, right? And this is what I think when it comes to Gerrard as well. I think that right now he's doing pretty good. I mean, he's one of the few England managers in a long while to actually win a title for, one of the big European clubs. I know they're not considered top 5 in like Scotland, but it is a European club, and that's brilliant. They are playing the Europa League as well, which is fantastic.
We tend to undermine these Scottish clubs, but they really are good, and we've seen it time and time again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at least for someone like me, anyways, I wouldn't want to see Gerrard taking Liverpool anytime soon. I want to see him develop more and be ready to tackle the problems, because at the end of the day, we have a financial structure that's like trying to build up and everything, based on the talents, and more of a kind of a self-sustained system, which Arsenal's trying to implement, but it's because they don't have certain talent and everything, it is failing. So in that sense, I am looking more towards it, but but again, other clubs, and other teams that, it depends on the team as well. They may look at it differently. It's like, what, maybe it is the right moment to have like this club legend take over, right? So I think in that sense, it's very subjective on what the club, and at the end of the day, the club is the one that decides who they hire. It's not the players itself.
I get you guys' points about wanting to have these legendary players that know what it is to win and have all these titles and trophies. But I think like the key characteristic that makes a successful manager is knowing how to lose and manage your squad so that they can bounce back and try to win trophies again. I think that's kind of what happened with a lot of managers right now. Like, let's use Lampard as an example. He's won a lot of trophies with Chelsea as a player, but he only had 2 years of professional experience, and he didn't take Derby to the Premier League. He lost in the playoffs, and he didn't win anything with Chelsea in his time there. So he doesn't really know what it's like to win and lose as a manager. So giving these player manager or these legendary players management roles, kind of like it is definitely a gamble. But I think the key characteristic is they need to know how to lose and manage their squad so that they can change and develop and win again.
So you're saying Gerard's gonna be amazing, brilliant, perfect.
I think if
I
we
have a
look at
last point to add on.
I mean,
just wanna say something
technically
about-
speaking,
I just want to say something about Gerard quick. Because if we look at what he's doing right now, obviously he just won the Scottish league, so credit to him. And even though it's not a big league, he still won that trophy. But if we compare him to Ollie, for example, who everybody slanders him all the time, but he also won the league in with Norway.
Yeah.
So even though that's not a big league, he still knows how to win trophies. So if somebody's going to say that Ollie's not a good manager because he never had any experience with a top team and winning, that's definitely untrue and uncredited, because he deserves to have a job. Maybe that job's a little bit too high for him, but he definitely knows how to win.
I do agree with that point of
And
view.
I have
Anybody
a
wants to add on?
Yes. So we were talking about Lampard, right? And uh, Mitch had a really good point about manager knowing how to lose, and that was not the case with Lampard. He usually blamed it on the players. He couldn't accept defeats. That's the main thing. And a lot of critics said that Lampard needs to stay. Lampard needs to stay, but he needs more time. But why does he need more time when the club is doing really bad? When the club is doing really bad, and it's in the position that we are not supposed to be in. We were in on top of the table, and we went all the way down to 10th. So that's at the moment we needed the change. So they took the right decision. Sentiments doesn't matter. Success really matters in this club, and that's
Okay.
why it's he got sacked.
Okay, Hafiz, you
Success.
wanted to add something.
You
Yeah,
wanted to pose with something?
I wanted to counter that suggestion. So Ole was also in a terrible position with Man United.
Yeah.
Was it last year or the year before? Very similar to Lampard.
This year too, they were in 16th by like October or something.
Point is, Ole was
Yeah.
in a terrible position. Right? What did Man United do? They stuck by him, right? They gave him the resources, and now they're up in second place in the league. I'm not saying Lampard would have done it, but I'm saying we'll never know if he'd be able to do it because he wasn't given the opportunity. And I also understand that success is important, but y'all are not winning the league. Like, it's not happening. So
Yes,
as long as
but the thing is, we weren't. At least if we were, remember 15-16, that was the worst season, and Mourinho got sacked. We weren't supposed to be in 10th place. That's the main thing. We don't belong there. We are not a mid-table team. We are a English superpower as well. So it's basically built on that success model. If the manager doesn't succeed, take him off, find another one. So the same thing happened with Lampard, and I don't know what happened with Conte and Sari. I'm not really aware of it, but this thing is mostly understandable.
Mustafa, you have something to say
like
to that?
Bro, I'm just waiting. I'm just
He's
waiting.
just waiting for the
What are you
whole
gonna say?
player versus manager debate. Do you guys
I'm
have
done.
anything?
I'm done to jump into right now.
All right. Are you guys? Is everybody done? Does anyone have any final thoughts about this topic of club legends returning to the club?
Oh, one last thing, real quick.
All right, go for it.
Arsenal and Arteta, they're in a terrible place right now, but I respect them for what they're doing, and I think we're gonna see them come up soon.
Of course,
You would
because
like
it's the
that.
team that you support, man.
You would like that.
Exactly.
It's okay. You know, Hafiz. You know, he's really
I said that
big
knowing
upping.
exactly what would have came to me, but it was worth it. It needed to be said.
Okay, man. I mean, to be fair, Arteta has won a trophy. You
Two.
know, 2 trophies. I mean, can you really count the?
There you go.
Of course.
FA Cup and the Community Shield.
All right, but guys,
At least it's not the Audi
appreciate.
Cup.
All right. Appreciate you guys. But guys, if you want to continue this discussion, please leave it in the comments down below and about the trends of club legends returning to the club. Do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing? Let us know. All right, guys. Now it is time, because this has been a big thing for the soccer world community. The players versus managers debate. Ooh. Obviously, we have been debating this a lot. If you've been following the soccer community, we have been debating this a lot on whether or not managers or players should take more accountability within their actions when it comes to either success or failure, right? And obviously, we do have polar opposite, thoughts when it comes to this as well. So, one of the questions I do want to ask at the start: do managers get more flack compared to players? It's a first big question. Does anybody want to answer that?
The big names, usually the big names get the more flack, because we have seen about Mourinho, we've seen about Pep. they usually get questioned whenever there is a loss. Like you remember the previous quarterfinals of the Champions League where they lost against Lyon, Man City. Pep was at stake, and the same thing against Leicester. Pep was at stake, and every loss they tend to take accountability against the bigger managers, the managers who have proved themselves time and time and again. Like Jose Mourinho, when Spurs were on a losing streak, he was questioned. Then the players questioned. He was he was questioned, but the real problem was with the players and the injuries. Kane and Son were really good, but the rest of the team, you gotta think about it. And Mourinho got questioned, and he is quite a controversial figure comparing as a manager. He's a very controversial figure. So the main thing is media wants that attention from they give attention to the controversial, the more of these big managers. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's why that's the main thing they get accountable for.
All right. Actually, very good, interesting point. Yeah, Mustafa, I think this is your time to
Before
shine.
He's
before
gone.
Mustafa starts, right?
Mustafa,
I
Okay.
gotta go right now. I'll be
Mustafa's
back in a
gone.
bit.
Hey, go ahead, guys. Go
I'll
ahead.
be back in a bit.
He'll be back in a
Gone.
bit.
No, he's gonna go
Yeah.
off.
I gotta go for right now, so
All right.
I'll be back in like 2 hours if Mustafa's still going on about his rant. But
Okay. Okay.
All right, Mustafa. Obviously for you, right? Mourinho not doing well this season. Do you really put it down to him, or do you really put it down to the players this season? Let's hear it from you, mate.
Let me get my notes.
Oh,
no.
damn. Yo, we may have to extend the time.
Okay.
Yo, I gotta go too. Hold on.
Hey, chill. Okay, I'm gonna start off with a quote from Sean Dyke. I could be mistaken here, but it was mentioned in Spurs versus Burnley game, the recent one, that one of the managers, I think it's Sean Dyke, I could be wrong, I couldn't find an article on it, but commentators were talking about it, that the manager is delaying the training sessions by a couple hours because the players they wake up too late. They don't wake up early anymore because all night they're playing video games. That's ridiculous.
Sounds
Yeah.
like something Neil would do.
If that's true, then it's ridiculous.
I mean,
The-
in terms
the-
of PSG, you can say that they
Okay.
have that star mentality, that superstar mentality, where they usually like Neymar especially.
Yeah,
I think
but
yeah.
even then, it's not correct. Neymar is not good enough. Pick any player on this planet, other than of course Messi, Ronaldo, Lewandowski, and huge names like that. But Neymar is not good. Neymar and Mbappe, they're not good enough. They're good, but they're not good enough. They're not Ballon d'Or worthy. You know? Okay. As I was talking about him, it's ridiculous how the managers have to adapt according to the players' requirements, and it's not even a big requirement. We see Neymar every freaking year. He just goes off injured during February because it's his sister's birthday. That's ridiculous. Like, these players should not be given such an ease. They should be. They've lost it. The players have lost it.
Let me ask you this as well, right? Because you look at players like Neymar and Mbappe, right? Who have won those big things and everything. And, Spurs, they haven't won a lot this year and everything. So wouldn't you think that the players would be more up to find someone like a winner like Jose Mourinho?
Okay, I'm gonna pull out this article.
Yeah, go for it.
I sent it to Neil, but Neil dipped.
Yeah, by the time he pulls out the article.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the same thing. they have the superstar mentality, and I think in one of the
Who,
I think
Spurs?
in Spurs, it was Christian Eriksen. I guess he's really
Oh,
quiet. He
okay, maybe.
really Christian Eriksen and Gareth Bale, they keep really quiet,
Alright, let's see
and
this article right here.
Okay. Go ahead, Akil, if you want to finish your thought.
yeah, it's only that superstar mentality, and they think they're too good, like Gareth Bale, where he they usually Jose Mourinho has said he keeps really quiet and he doesn't talk much, but he doesn't interact with anyone. But you know that I think it's the Burnley versus Spurs press conference that he said about it. It's mainly due to that superstar, that stardom. The main thing that's on on blame is the stardom, that they don't get along with the managers, and the same thing with Deli Ali. He has that ego, he has that attitude that he doesn't get along with Jose Mourinho. That's why Mourinho hates. And the same thing with the same case happened with Paul Pogba and Jose Mourinho. They hated them. They hated each other mainly due to the egos colliding. And one thing the players need to realize: the manager is everything. If you, it's not the there's very self-centered that they think they're everything, and they tend to they play a role in getting the manager sacked. No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. The players need to listen to the manager. That's the main thing that everyone expects. That's the main thing everyone expects.
It's a very interesting, and I do want to ask actually more questions, but obviously Mustafa did pull this out and everything. What was the point that you want to push out, Mustafa?
Okay. Akil mentioned earlier in the previous topic that Lampard had to go, and it's an interesting thing. And you talk about how Mourinho should stay at Spurs. He doesn't deserve the blame he's getting, right?
Mhm.
What difference do you see between the two managers?
Lampard is like that. He's a man-to-man player manager. Like he takes care of he focuses on individual players. That's why we've been having legends under him, like Milito in Inter Milan, Frank Lampard, John Terry, and Didier Drogba in Chelsea, and
No, but I do want to also add that Frank Lampard also did splash a lot of money this year as well,
yes,
compared to Jose Mourinho, um, who, to be fair, he made smart signings in the long run, but it didn't work out though. So, but
Part of the thing with like comparison with Jose and Lampard is like I think the media portrays them completely differently. Like Lampard's portrayed as like the club man, the man for the club. Everybody basically plays that Jose is bigger than Spurs, so obviously they're gonna be evaluated on different platforms, and I think that's why people think that Jose should stay at Spurs because they think that he's better than the entire club, and they value him way more than the other club. And they think that his influence is going to change Spurs. I'm not saying that he can and he will, but I just think that's what people see in him staying there.
It is easier to let go of a manager than completely change the team.
Mm-hmm.
It is way easier to sack the manager, get a new one, than to actually look at the team and see what's wrong with it. And that is why I pulled out this article. Harry Kane talked about this. So this is an issue. We've observed this when Mourinho was the manager of Manchester United. Like a boring play style, and we saw it later on with Spurs in the late 2020. This boring play style, like sitting back, playing defensive, parking the bus. We started off the season with quite a bang. Spurs were really aggressive, like they wanted to achieve something. But then later on, slowly, they became lazier. Now, I'm talking from a Spurs fan perspective. I as I'm around as I'm in this community, I see a lot of Spurs fan, a lot, like 70-80% of them, they blame Mourinho. They blame Mourinho for playing a slow play style because he played slow with Manchester United as well, and he's known for parking the bus. Now, I don't think that's true. And Harry Kane talked about this against a win against Burnley, I think.
Mhm.
Also,
Yeah, I
need to
think.
point out.
Sheffield.
Sheffield, yeah.
I need to point out one more thing. Don't call it parking the bus. It's defensive masterclass.
Okay, got you.
Whatever you want to say, man. Okay.
Because he's jealous
It's a
Chelsea
defensive
can't
Yeah,
have that anymore.
but
What? What do you mean?
No, it's not that. It's not that. It's just a way of playing. Like I said, defensive play is also a thing. Like the same way how tiki taka and the Croatian footballers. It's
But Tuchel's doing that right now. How can you say that? Okay, but
Okay.
anyways, go on. Go on with your point.
Yeah, Harry Kane talked about it after the Sheffield win, and Hugo Lloris, who's the co-captain, who captains when Kane is, he talked about it after our latest loss against Dynamo Zagreb, and it's a really big issue. They both talk about like how the manager Jose Mourinho isn't telling them to sit back. Jose Mourinho is telling them to go out there, get those goals, but the players sit back. Now, I don't know what's wrong with Spurs. I don't know what's wrong with the players, but they're acting this way. And people who are just gonna look at the game, they're gonna blame Jose Mourinho. They're gonna think Jose has lost it. He's no longer the same man. But how can you say that? We don't know what's going on in the back.
Can I?
If you would have watched the All or Nothing documentary, you would have seen how motivative Jose Mourinho gets, and some of the players like Hugo Lloris. I remember that clip from All or Nothing. Hugo was yelling at Heung-min Son because like right before halftime they conceded a goal and it was 1-1, or I think they were
Yeah.
losing.
Right.
But Spurs were in the lead in the beginning, and Hugo was yelling at Son that why didn't you run? Why didn't you go for the ball? And Son was saying that he was injured. Then Hugo yelled again, like run, run for the team, run, and that's quite motivational. Like, and I don't see that in rest of the players at Spurs. I don't see that. No, I'm not saying Akil already pointed out a couple of Spurs players that he considers to have big egos, and I'm not gonna point out any names because I don't know what's going on in the back. The attitudes that I've seen, the terrible attitudes, I've seen it from 90% of the squad. Even I've seen it from Son as well. I've seen it from Harry Kane as well. But I don't blame them. I blame the whole team for playing like this. I blame Sissoko. Sissoko was phenomenal for Spurs. He was amazing. When he came in, of course, quite bad, but then he improved. Same with Ndombele. They were bad players. They improved, and now they're again turning bad. And it's quite sad to see like the players fall off. And I don't know what the reason is, what's going on in the back, but these players don't deserve the blame. Sorry, the manager doesn't deserve the blame. The players deserve the blame. And Thivian, you talked about Mourinho being the head coach, and I absolutely agree with him. Right now, managers have no control over their players. The managers can tell the players, okay, do this, do that. Now, it's up to the players on the pitch to make those decisions, to make those micro decisions. We see, which game was it? Was it the Chelsea game? that Sanchez gave away a penalty. It was against Chelsea, right?
That was
No,
Maybe,
Dyer.
yeah.
Dyer gave away the
no, no. It was against Arsenal.
Before
So
you do
there was
continue
a
though,
penalty given
Mustafa,
against Arsenal.
your audio is kind of cutting off as well.
Yeah.
You might want to fix that quickly.
Okay.
Your internet's too heated right
Just
Stream is in. Okay, but obviously before Mustafa does come back, I think it is a good point to bring out like Jose Mourinho on that side because obviously, in a sense that he may be unjust in a way, but you look at his other CV as well. Some people may look at the Spurs documentary and they may have a different point of view. We gotta keep this in mind that the Spurs documentary was made for Spurs people, Spurs fans and everything. Even though it was quite enjoyed by other people, they did cut off certain moments and they kept others, right? So we gotta remember and put that into perspective. Now, we looked at, and it's a very interesting thing when we look at like Jose Mourinho's 3 separate times. His first time at Chelsea, I think he lost the plot, but I think people looked at it as like, it really is an off season from Jose Mourinho. Yeah, it was bad from him, but is it really an indicator that kind of like the certain things now that we look at, like for example, the psychology side of things and everything is affecting him? No, not really. I think it was like a really, really poor season from him, and I think people were able to look back from that, right? And then you look at Jose Mourinho's season next season where, he did predominantly better. He won 2 trophies with Man United, but obviously within his 3rd season, completely collapsed again.
No, that was his first season. That was his first season. Then he won the 2 trophies.
Yeah, he won the 2 trophies, but I'm talking about at the end of his 3rd season, right?
Yeah.
Collapsed again. Players were not particularly listening to him and whatnot, and because of it, United decided to take the moment to sack him and everything. And then you look at when he's come to Spurs and everything. Even though there is Harry Kane that is going to back him, and maybe he's that kind of Mourinho type of player where you look at like Drogba and Essien, who are people that were like things, leaders on the pitch, right? But again, football's been moving on faster than we think, right? And a lot of that star mentality is, hitting to them. And it's hard to kind of balance that for some of the players as well when they look at that. And some managers, they look at, they're more inept of controlling that more, right? And building a community that is better, right? I look at people like Pep Guardiola, who's, he's able to buy the particular players and everything, right? But as we see with Lampard, the amount of money that you do spend, it doesn't determine the success right away. It's how you use those players that's important, right? And Pep Guardiola is consistently able to get the best out of these players at the most times. Apart from last season where he massively underperformed, I would say he's massively wronged those rights again. And he improved, right? He's able to get those players up again, right? But you see in Spurs, obviously, I think last season he had a lot of injuries and all that. That could be the excuse this season, right? However, this season. Oh, you disagree? How come?
Injury is not an excuse. Injury is not an excuse for no. No.
It is.
Let me complete the sentence.
Let him speak.
Hey, he's just messing with me. Injury is not an excuse for the players to play bad. Okay? Thivian, you saw it by your own 2 eyes. When Van Dijk got injured, just a week after, what was Liverpool's performance?
Liverpool's performances, like before that, obviously with 7-2 with Aston Villa, they were doing okay, but obviously the 7-2 was a massive shock, I think, for everybody's point of view and everything. And then once Van Dijk was injured and everything, it wasn't really because of the defense either. I think a lot of people need to realize, right? We got to look at the performances on why there was something wrong mentally wise when it came to the attacking front line. Now, do I put it all down to Klopp in that instance, or do I put it down even to all the players, for example? Not particularly so. I do think that at certain points they were trying, but because of the losses and everything, the players started to not care anymore in that sense. And when you look at all the other internal positions, there were issues. But for example, you look at teams like Brighton, you look at teams as West Brom, Should we have won those games? Yes, 100%, right? We shouldn't expect to beat the bigger teams where they are in a susceptible position, right? I would accept that. But to lose against some of the smaller sides, that's unacceptable, right? And I looked at it as a whole. And I think a lot of our supporters, anyways, are in, like, to conclude that, look, it's really bad. The team is performing poorly, and they need some time to really gel in and really reflect themselves, right? And Klopp does deserve another season. Now, I don't know about Spurs because, like, Jose Mourinho hasn't proved anything to them yet.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like after Van Dijk's injury, Liverpool's performance dropped, like it dramatically dropped. And from what I saw, I think the players deserve the blame. The Liverpool players deserve the blame in comparison to Klopp. I don't think Klopp would have like made them play any better. That's one thing.
Can I intervene?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
I actually think it's a bit of both, because when you lose a player of that caliber, the morale of the team is going to go down. That's inevitable. And bringing the morale back up is really difficult, but that's the manager's job. And that's why I don't think the manager should be fully excused from it. Again, it's kind of unrealistic that the manager gets affected by it just as much as the players. They're all in it together getting affected by it.
Mm-hmm.
But to suggest that the manager doesn't get any responsibility for that unfortunate instance that they have to deal with, would be unfair. Because again, the players are the ones who they take, I guess, command from the manager, right? And they get the vibe from the manager, and then continue with that on the field or they're supposed to, at least.
And I do want to add on as well.
I don't think anyone's free.
Yeah, I do want to add on, if I don't mind as well. You say, like, okay, the players deserve something like that, right? Klopp in and of itself wasn't in the proper mindset in certain points of the season as well. I do think he should... Oh, I thought you were raising your hand up. I do think he should get certain blame for certain points of the season. Like, for example, the West Brom game, he should have taken advantage of it. There was not much injuries. The Michelin game, why did he play Jota when we didn't need to, right? Because of that, he was injured. He didn't have to play a lot of his bigger teams. That was a chance for him to rest players, right? He has made mistakes this season. It's not like he hasn't. And to be fair, like, for a long period of time, I've seen the players, they're trying the same things, but they're not, I guess, in a sense, creative, right? There's a distinct style of play that they are trying to implement. I can see that, right? Which is why I do think it is partially the players' fault, and it is partially the manager's fault in this situation, at least for Liverpool this season. And it is a collective fault in that sense, right? I've seen Liverpool teams before that, the players they weren't good enough, or they, at times they didn't put enough effort in certain games and they were on and off, right? At least for that certain point in time, I've seen them at least putting effort until, like, there was a point where they just didn't have a lot of, wins and everything. The morale was really low for them, and then you can actually see that players were actually, the performance levels were going down, right? And that's why I think it was really good that Klopp, brought, like, someone like Nat Phillips and everything, people that were just hungry to go in and to perform. And we are seeing, like, little performances like that to go down. So what Liverpool needs to do this season is to really just build that confidence up. Do what they need to do in the Champions League. Let them try their best to win in it, and we'll see how far we go. And then really... go on.
And no, sorry, just one thing I have to add. You can't forget the fact that they had 20 different center-back partners. Am I correct in saying that? There's 20 different center-back...
Pretty much, yeah.
Like, how... Like, 20 different center-back partnerships. That's insane. Man City's had, what, 4? Maybe like 5 max, and that's because they're really good at rotation. And so when you have a situation where your best center-back is out for the season, your second best center-back's out for the season, and you're out here buying center-backs.
Yeah, Alisson was also out for a large parts of the season as well.
True. But like that's okay though.
But that's true though, because the goalkeeper at the end of the day, right? Look, think about Ederson, right? How he sets his team up as well, right? He's kind of like the beginning, like he sets kind of the defensive line to transition forward.
Bro, Scott Carlson did a good job, bro.
If we use Ederson
Scott Carlson
as an
did a good job, bro.
If we use him as an example, last season it was around the leg that we played at Anfield. I think the game we played at Anfield last year. I think it was like a 3-4 period game where Ederson was injured, and I think we lost like three of those games or something like that. So yeah, goalkeepers definitely have a big part on organizing the defense. So Allison definitely, that was a big miss for them too.
The point I was trying to make is if sorry, the point I was trying to make though is if you have Van Dijk and Gomez and like your regular back four, and you have Allison versus what's the other one? What's Adrian? Allison versus Adrian. It's not going to be as big of an impact versus if you don't have Van Dijk and Gomez up there and you have Allison or even Adrian. Like the
I mean,
difference is more
Adrian is the
significant in center
reason
backs
why
with
Adrian was
Liverpool
there.
specifically.
Adrian was there for the 7-2 loss against
And he was
Aston
there
Villa.
for
I'm just
that.
saying.
It gives your defense less confidence if you don't have your star player in net. Like
Yeah.
you've seen so many occasions that they have to work harder to defend because they don't have the trust and, well, I don't know if trust is the right word, but they don't feel as comfortable as if Liverpool had Alisson in net, for example.
Mustafa, did you want to add something actually?
Yeah. I just have 2 points. First point, responding to Hafiz. I somewhat agree with you. I think the manager deserves the blame as well. But observing from Spurs' point of view, last season when it was Mourinho's first season, Harry Kane got injured, and everyone thought that it was the end of Spurs. For like, I can't remember how long he was injured, but it was pretty significant time. I think it was 5 to 7 games. Spurs didn't lose a game. Spurs did not lose a single game at that time. They might have lost one, I could be wrong, but majority of the games they won, they smashed it.
I'm pretty sure they had a higher win percentage. I'm pretty sure I've seen that stat before.
Yeah, they had a higher win percentage without Kane when Kane was injured than they did with Kane. Kane is a key player to Spurs. Don't get the word twisted. Like it's not like Spurs is better without Kane.
Absolutely.
It's that Spurs still performed better without Kane. They did not care that their key player was out. They still wanted. They were hungry at that time. They had the hunger to get those wins.
Let me
Okay,
ask
go
you
ahead.
this, Mustafa, if you don't mind, actually.
Can I respond to him real quick?
Oh yeah, go
Unless
ahead.
it's
Go
along
ahead.
the lines.
No. Go ahead.
Okay. Bro, that was, correct me if I'm wrong, that was Jose Mourinho's honeymoon period. Am I correct when I say that?
I mean, you could label it as a honeymoon period, but I see it as a normal Mourinho time.
That doesn't quite explain this season though. 'Cause, like, if you see it as a normal Mourinho time, that would generally apply over an extended period of time.
I
It
know
was
the
doesn't
a,
Mourinho
necessarily
time actually
correlate
would be like his second season would be his top season. Is this really normal?
okay. The Hurricane injury period was in the first season when he took over.
Okay.
Yeah. No, the point I was trying to get at is that time is when things were still getting started per se. He wasn't as settled as he was after getting an entire summer and more time there. Am I wrong?
I mean, it wasn't like it wasn't like a new period. It wasn't the start. That's
When
all
did
I
he
know.
come
It
in?
wasn't the start. I need to check the dates again, man. You're making me look at the calendar.
It's all good, man. It's all good. But you know, these are good examples, and the reason why we do bring this up as well is like better decipher, because what I've learned as well throughout my time, anyways. I don't know if people have the same thing. It really depends on the team that whether or not the player or manager should get fault for this, right? And of course, the media has an eye on certain things, right? But it's not like players don't get more negative feedback than the manager, at least in my point of view. If anybody wants to correct me if I'm wrong after this explanation, you can. It's like we look at like Marcus Rashford for example. The man, to be fair, he was overhyped in the beginning, but I don't particularly think it should still hold. He's been performing pretty well, especially with this humanitarian thing, and especially the fact that he does get at times, especially in the tabloids and everything. I think it's horrendous. Same with people like Raheem Sterling, for example. Even though he is performing great at the moment, at times he gets unnecessary flack, whatsoever. And then you look at
That's a
certain
whole
managers.
discussion, to be honest.
Sorry.
That's the fact that generally we see that black people tend to get more negative press. It's a whole discussion. Like I want to look at that in depth, but from the scene that I see, that's been slightly consistent. But I want to look into it in depth. And
I definitely agree in terms of British tabloids and everything. We don't actually have that on the list and whatnot.
The first thing is British media is toxic. If you
all media is toxic.
Very much toxic.
Yeah.
Bro, all media is toxic.
Yeah, and I do think like certain players, like example Bruno Fernandes as well. He gets a lot of flack as well. I don't think that's racially driven or anything, but that's another big example of it.
That's what I'm saying. But then you have for every example, there's also a counter example, like Pogba, right? He gets some of it is justified, but some of it is just, in my opinion, unnecessary hate that's shown towards them. It's something that needs to be talked about in depth. I don't like throwing out suggestions like that. But like from the outside, that's what it seems like. I want to genuinely talk about and like have a deep dive into, the actual statistics and everything around it before coming to like a conclusion or anything. But from what I see, that's the vibe I get.
Okay, all right, and that could be actually kind of a discussion that we could have later on, actually, within future discussion panels, which is very good. But I just put that out there, like in terms of like for managers as well, right? And then when you look at certain managers like Jose Mourinho, that gets like a lot of unnecessary flack for whatever reason. You look at other managers like Zidane as well, like especially with Real Madrid, like in terms of the Spanish media and how much they put on him, the amount of pressure, it's ridiculous.
I think the managers get the highlight more than the players. And I don't think that's fair. The managers get a lot of... Managers get a lot of critique when something bad happens. But when something good happens, players get the most praise. Correct me if I'm wrong here.
Depends.
Depends as well. You look at like someone like Messi, for example, or Ronaldo.
Okay, not talking about like Messi and Ronaldo because
or Mbappe, for example. Like Mbappe, whenever he has like a lackluster performance, people doubt him and everything, and whenever he does pretty good, right? And there's those things as well where it's like it does cloud your judgment on certain things.
Let me finish.
Yeah.
Okay, I somewhat agree with that because those players have already gotten under the highlight, like Mbappe, for example, or Haaland, for example. When Haaland is performing for BVB, nobody's praising the manager. Like, nobody even knows who the manager of BVB is. They're just praising Haaland.
Yeah.
And, okay, interesting stat. Haaland is second joint top scorer in Bundesliga with another player from, I think, Frankfurt.
Andre Silva.
Andre Silva?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Andre Silva.
Andre Silva doesn't get the same praise, but Haaland does. I just wanted to bring that up randomly. Andre Silva is like, how old is he? 27? 26?
No, he's like 24 or 23. 24. So he's not that old.
Okay.
And one more top scorer that I want to talk about is Wolfsburg's Wout Weghorst. Even he has been on the headlines of Bundesliga. People don't talk about him. He's a top scorer for the. I think he's fourth.
It's very picky. Like some players make the highlight and some don't. But generally speaking, Like generally speaking, the only reason why Haaland or Mbappe is getting that negative feedback is because they did good. They got praise before they got the critique. We look at Jose Mourinho. I mean, you could say that Jose Mourinho did good and then he got the critique. But look at Lampard. Look at Coleman. They have little to no managerial experience, and they still get a lot of critique.
I think
Coleman has
I think
a lot of
Lampard's a
experience.
good example too, because if you look at, obviously this season didn't go well for him, but if you change a couple results, if Werner scores those easy tap-ins that he misses and they get better results, and he's still going to be in a job. So just because his players didn't perform in crucial moments, I don't think he deserves all the critics for that.
One more thing, I agree with you, Mitch. One more thing. What game was that? Where Eric Dyer made a stupid challenge in the box.
It was Spurs versus Chelsea at the
Yeah, it was.
Pacquiao Stadium.
Yeah, that was the game that I was thinking about. Dyer made that stupid challenge where he extended his leg when he didn't have to do that. He definitely didn't have to do that. And that lost us game, by the way. That lost us the game. I blame that challenge for the loss. And how in the hell are you gonna blame Jose Mourinho for that loss, for that goal? You can't. It's the players that make most of the micro decisions within the game. They okay. They drive the game. Manager can only ask
Bro,
them.
I get your point.
Hey, go on, Hafiz.
Yeah. No, bro, I really get your point. But, sorry, just real quick though. We need to understand that we're talking about human beings here, right? And that's not to say that we expect them to make mistakes. No, we're not, but they're human beings. They should be treated as human beings as well. What I mean by that specifically is a mistake every now and then will occur, and I think it's a manager's responsibility to react according to that specific situation and to like push them towards not ending. I'm not blaming Jose for that loss. Let me clarify that. I'm not blaming him for that loss. But what I'm suggesting is that mistakes like that will happen. How the manager reacts to them is what's telling of both the player and the manager.
I do want to add on as well, like it's about consistency as well, right? If it's like, okay, one bad result and everything, I don't think any manager should be put under the bus because of it, right? However, if it's consistent performances, then you got to ask questions about whether or not, you got to look at the situation first and foremost. Are Spurs in a really dire situation where they are losing multiple players and everything? For example, let's look at the example with the Arsenal game. Right off the bat, I think everybody said that Spurs should have won based on the squad that was put out. And somehow, some way, Arsenal, won it. And I know it's about like, form goes out of the window. But the performance levels between Arsenal and the performance level between Spurs were cut and dry. It wasn't a 50-50 thing. Arsenal, through and throughout, dominated that game. And Spurs were they home or away? It was Arsenal was home, right? But they didn't put our prayer in that, right? And we've been seeing that consistently this season, that they haven't been. So you do that thing. Is like you do have to question actually some of the thing. Of course, within every team it's different, but does it make you
after that loss? No, before that, after that loss. Jose Mourinho put out that team that we discussed about. It was against what team was it? That he just completely changed up the team. It was against Aston Villa that we won 2-0. We were questioning that team because it was completely different. 3 center backs. I think he was playing 5 at the back. And Spurs actually played really well, although it was just Aston Villa. But Spurs played really well. And I also want to bring up one point. Thivian, you and I had this discussion after I think Liverpool lost to Brighton, with Zen as well. We were talking about like how the manager doesn't deserve as much blame as they do get. When we were watching that game when Liverpool lost, it was clear that the attackers of Liverpool, they did not have that passion or hunger to go in there to get those goals. And you can portray it however you want, but it was visible within the players that they didn't want to score. I mean, of course, they wanted to score, but they were not fighting for
Mentally
it.
wise,
Yeah,
I agree with
they,
that.
they were broken. And because of those things, manager gets the blame.
Akilesh, did you want to add something? Sorry, like,
Yes, I did want to add something.
Okay, then Akilesh, and then I'll answer your question, Mustafa. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
Mustafa, you said that Warner could have Mustafa and Mitch, I guess they said that Warner could have tapped in some goals and got some victory. In that point of view, it's true that he didn't perform, but let's get this into the consideration. See the forward play difference between Tuchel and Frank Lampard. It's completely different. Frank Lampard goes wide. He goes wide and he tries to cross in, but it's a very poor build-up. But this Tuchel team has a good forward build-up. The build-up gets you in the box and you score. And I think you guys saw the first Atletico Madrid goal, right? That impressive forward play. That's what it was expected. And I think the commentator also said that is the expected thing that every Chelsea fan dreamed of. And but in the beginning of the season when Lampard was there, the forward play was poor. If you look at the Wolves versus Chelsea game in which we lost 2-1 to them, the forward play was too bad. Even though Mount, Kante, and Jorginho and Kovacic were driving it, but the forward play was poor. They didn't have the manager is to be blamed because he needs to bring in confidence in the players. That too, Werner and Havertz have been crucial players for us. They're crucial because big money signings, big wonder kids, they're expected to do well. So all the pressure is on the manager. And now with Tuchel in the team, Werner has been doing a lot of forward runs. He's giving assists. He's winning penalties. And I saw Tuchel's interview today. He was talking about how Werner is. People say the media critiqued him, saying that what are you gonna say about Werner's miss on the Germany versus North Macedonia? He defended him, saying that no, look what he's doing. Look at the work he's doing. He's giving the assists. He's giving the important forward runs. That wasn't there when Lampard was there. That's the main thing that's missing. Trust me, it's just the forward. It's just the tactics, man management, or things would be even different if Lampard was here. And after Lampard leaves and Tuchel comes in, it's a different game. Yeah.
Okay, I'll answer Akilesh's question before first Mustafa. Mustafa, obviously, I think you were talking about the Brighton game and just like, looking at the players. Yeah, I do agree. I do think, and I did say as well, it was the players' fault that time, right? But it was a run of games. You got to consider it was a bad run of games as well. During that time, it was a lot of injury issues as well, right? But at that moment, I do agree. I do blame the players. They didn't perform well, and they should have really done better against a team like that, right? Same with a lot of the other games later on. You got to look at like individuals that didn't particularly play well, right? But again, it is where to happen. But I do look at like in the beginning as well that they do and I think to be fair, a lot of the front line do need to take blame for it. Like Sadio Mane has been performing at the top of this level, but like someone like Mohamed Salah, who has been critiqued a lot, even with our fan base, he's been performing well consistently, and he's the one that's actually driving us to do well, right? So that's in a way an individual kind of thing, and that's how I look at it. And to answer or to actually question Akilesh, do you still blame Timo Werner despite the lack of confidence and everything? With the amount of chances, it's not like he's struggling to get into the right positions, right? But do you blame him for some of the gilt-edged chances that he did miss? Because at the end of the day, he's been put in the positions that are pretty good and everything, right? And it doesn't help in his press conference that he does make excuses later on, and he says like, oh, like I didn't expect that physicality and everything. Don't you feel like you want to play that's like, you know what? Obviously, this league is going to be difficult. I understand that, but I need to take into myself, put myself to this consideration, and really work on finishing in general. Because if he's not working on finishing in the training, then
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. That's the main thing that he lacked. He lacked, and so he started to provide the assist at the moment. That I can completely agree with you. But it goes hand in hand, I guess. The time when Lampard was in, and how the team was performing all over, and the team was all over the place and whatnot. So yeah, those crucial tap-ins was his fault, mainly his fault. I really do blame him. But in terms of other, like making opportunities, running for the opportunities, I guess it's it it's on the team pretty much.
okay. Does
Um,
anybody have anything to add?
so
Yes,
yeah, I'm gonna add that too if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah.
Or like Mustafa, do you want to add something?
You wanna
All
ask
right.
me a question or something?
I want to respond to Hafiz and Thivian, and I also want to respond to Akilesh.
Okay.
Okay,
Uh,
let's go.
it's responding to Hafiz and Thivian. No, actually, I'm gonna respond to Akilesh first.
Okay.
Okay.
Pick one.
Pick up your mind, yo.
I'm gonna give my own personal example of
Okay.
real life.
All right.
I'm a captain of an Overwatch team, and I've experienced this firsthand. When you have to be the leader,
A lot of the
when you have to be the leader, like sometimes changes come, like you make changes within the team, you get new players, and usually it's not like the manager's fault. Like, okay, it's just a change within the team that actually makes the difference. Taking it back to when Mourinho came in, Pochettino went out, Mourinho came in. Nothing has changed since Mourinho came in, other than a couple of signings. You could say Doherty has had a bad influence. Højbjerg has a positive influence, and Ndombele has improved a bit. But mostly he's made positive changes. But the Spurs are going downhill. Like when he came in, Spurs were downhill. They went up, then they went down again. It's not really like and for Tuchel as well. It's early days for him.
yes.
I think it's a bit too early to judge. Maybe these players that are playing under Tuchel, maybe if they would have performed on the same caliber as they're performing under Tuchel, when they were under Lampard, if they performed the same, I can guarantee you they would have done great things. If the players themselves, they don't want to win, they're not going to win. If they don't have that, if they don't believe, then they're not going to win.
Right.
And
Okay, before you do continue as well, I'm gonna let you respond, and Hafiz, you can respond, and if any like last remarks regarding all this,
yeah, okay.
go ahead, because we are going overtime actually, and we'll
Yeah.
actually cut it to one more topic, and then we'll end it. Alright, sounds good. Alright, go ahead.
I mean, yeah, you're pretty much right. But at the end of the day, I know the team could have performed better under Lampard, but I don't know what really went wrong. On, to be honest, I just watched the game. They were lackluster. The 0-0 draw against United, the 0-0 draw against you guys, and the Arsenal loss, which was really devastating. I don't know what really happened. Oh my god, it's a tough one. It's a tough call. Not gonna lie,
I just
it's a tough call.
I want to just briefly add to that, just like briefly.
Yeah, go for it.
You're right, but that's where I feel Frank Lampard fell short.
Yes.
In a situation like that, a solid manager would be able to turn the environment around, turn the morale around, right? Like Pep is a prime example, who last year, his team was down in the dumps.
And
As the quality
and
manager that
this
he is, he turned it around.
and going on into this season as well, because we're like bottom half, mid-table for the first
Yeah,
like
like
2 months of the season.
Yeah,
like if you take into
exactly.
consideration
Like a good manager.
if you take into consider if you consider Man City, they lost against Spurs, they lost against Leicester 5-2, the biggest defeat of theirs, and they had the mechanism to bounce back. They had the tactic, they
Yeah.
had the mindset to bounce back, and that's what is expected of all teams. And Spurs did the opposite. They went down a high and they went downhill, and the same thing
Wait,
with
when were we
Liverpool.
talking about
Liverpool,
Spurs?
it's a different story.
Bro, we're talking about Chelsea. How'd you jump to Spurs and Liverpool?
I mean, I'm just telling it overall. So the
Okay,
same thing, we didn't
alright.
have that bouncing back.
Mustafa, you wanted to say one more thing to Hafiz and I, right?
Yeah, just one more thing.
Yeah.
We can continue this after the whole thing is over, because this is a long topic.
It really
you
is.
said, Hafiz, you said that when Van Dijk got injured, it's the manager's responsibility to pull the team together and bring back the morale. But the thing is, as you've said, managers are humans as well. When like I'm the captain of a team, and when someone's not playing, of course the morale of the team would go down, and it affects me personally as well, because I have to manage everything. I have to overlook everything. Like, talking on a psychological level, and this gets really deep. Talking on a psychological level, how can I put the team back together when I myself, I'm not sure what's gonna happen?
Well,
I don't know how I'm gonna do
So-
this.
I just have like a little point for that. Like
you know-
I think you're looking at a different. It's kind of like a different perspective because you're the captain of that team. So you're. Whoa! What the
Yo,
fuck?
Akil, where'd you go?
Okay, Akil, can you mute yourself, man?
My man's in a plane.
Akil, can you
Oh my
mute yourself,
God.
man? Like, because like we
Hold
heard
on.
like,
It's okay. Sorry, he's good.
Yeah,
okay,
he's
alright,
good.
yeah, go ahead.
All right, so I think you gotta take it a little bit of a different perspective because you're the captain of that team. So you're looking at the perspective of Lloris. You're not looking at the perspective of Mourinho. Like
Okay.
you
Okay.
can't directly influence what's going on
Time
in the
out.
game because you're
Time out.
because you're playing. Because you're playing, you're not just watching from the sidelines. You're directly involved in it, so you can shift something while you're playing. Yo,
I'm the manager as well. I forgot to mention this. I'm the manager and the captain.
do you play? Do you play?
Yeah, I play and I manage.
So
Okay.
it's like a different perspective because you can directly impact what's going on when it's going on. It's a different perspective for the manager.
Yes.
Like Mourinho can't go on the pitch and go make a freaking 50-yard run and then tackle somebody in the box and play it upfield. Like he can't do that. So it's like a different perspective.
I'm just saying, Kenny Dalglish
Sorry
did
about
that back in the day when he managed Liverpool. He was a player manager, then he became a manager after. And then I'm not talking about his
Alright, let me hit you. Let me hit you with my answer, okay?
Damn.
The manager doesn't play for a reason. That's because their role is to manage the team. No, genuinely, like their
Yeah.
role as a manager is to manage the team, right? A manager needs to be the most mentally strong. They need to be the strongest mental. They're the front line in terms of the media, generally, like with regards to the club and whatnot. That's not to say that it's easy for them or it's not hard for them, but like there's a reason that's a manager position that they take and not a player position, because the roles of a manager position is different from the roles of a player. I want to bring retail into here because I think retail is a good example. You look at these employees working on the floor as an associate, as a cashier and stuff, right? They're usually the ones that the money comes in from there, right? They're the ones who do the transaction and whatnot. But if anything goes wrong, if something breaks loose in there, the manager is the first person. The manager is the one who's responsible for keeping the employees calm, for handling any what's it called, any serious issue or anything that goes on. And generally, how it's supposed to be is that they're paid more because they have more responsibility. So it's, I'm not saying that it's easy for, was it Klopp we're talking about or Jose?
Jose.
Klopp.
Both,
Jose.
both. They're both in the mud.
To be honest, they both had it. Yeah, I'm not saying it's easy for Jose Mourinho or anything, but that's why he's paid for it. Like, and he's done it before. I think so. I hope so. But that's why he's paid for it. Like, that's his role as the manager, is to find a way to dig them out that hole and to get them back up and running.
Yeah,
And
that's
why they have managers, so players could focus on playing in the game and less on, the other aspects of running a team.
I do want to add on as well. When you do accept things in like those big positions, well, you kind of have an understanding where you're coming from with this, right? Especially when you're taking a bigger role, right? You have a bigger responsibility. You hold a bigger, weight in that, right? And I think a lot of people, they do understand the job, right? Now, if certain things go wrong and everything, I think the employees will understand, right? But you have to show yourself that you're putting a bigger effort, especially in like the press conference, right? It's not a good sign that, especially in a, like, if I were to, let's just say my manager was talking like about the whole situation, like let's say his store and everything, and he talks poorly about the manager. That's horrible in a manager's morale thing, right? And that's why a manager needs to be strong for its people as well. And that's why in those instances, Klopp gets praised more in this way, and then Mourinho, like, even though at times, yeah, he should like talk about his players and everything, it just didn't work out in recent times, and it's just, again, another morale, downer in that sense, right? So at the end of the day, it's very subjective, and it can really, this topic can really go more, and I'm glad that you guys are all passionate about this, and please definitely do, but I want to conclude this whole topic by ending up with these two questions, and just give me like quick answers to that. Let's not try to go back and forth and do it. What do you think the role of a manager? Yeah, what do you think the role of the manager in today's game should be, and what should we expect from that? And then the role of the players in today's game, and I don't, and what I do mean by this, right? I don't mean about like, okay, the position they play specifically. I mean like how they should present themselves in like the game and like their image. That makes sense, right? Am I clear with that, or is there any questions regarding that question? All right, perfect. Each one of you guys can answer.
Wait, could you ask that one more time? Wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, ask it again.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so what is the role of the managers in today's game? Like the responsibilities, like what they need to do, like how should they portray themselves? And the same thing regarding the player. I'm not talking about what position they need to play and whatnot, but those three kind of factors. Yeah, go ahead, Akilesh.
So there's a difference between a boss and a leader. The boss instructs, and the others do the job what the boss asks for. The employees do the job what the boss asks for. But the leader, he steps in, and he motivates them. He shows them how it's done, and he gets it done. And I think even though the manager doesn't get into the pitch and play with the players, off the pitch, he does his work as a leader. I think in the modern day football, the manager is like a leader. He directs the team in a certain way. He directs the players in a certain way. He manages his players. He knows what is right, what is wrong, who should fit in the team, who is not, who is unfit, who keeps a clear record of how players are performing. And he also keeps an eye on the youth development, saying that okay, we can promote this player to the senior team. I wish he'll be a good fit. He really judges well, saying that who fits in the team and who doesn't, and who fits into his system. His system is a certain way, certain tactic of his that he applies in the everyday game, and he knows what sort of a players fits in. Like Jose Mourinho chose Drogba, and right now he's choosing Harry Kane as his forward, and the same way as other players, other managers too. So yeah, he he knows what is good for the team. If he's really experienced, he knows what is good for the team, and he directs the team in the right way.
Okay. So you're talking about the role of the manager. What about the role of the player?
Role of the manager, I was talking about.
Okay, so you don't have any different role of the player. Okay. Anybody else wants to answer the two questions?
Well, I just wanted to add a point on to Aklesh's thing. So about the boss versus leader view, I don't know if like I'm alone in this, but I put a lot of emphasis on the captain, and I have a lot of scrutiny for them if the teams play kind of poorly, because the manager can lead off the pitch in training, and he's the one that guides them. He picks the team and he organizes all the players, and on the pitch he gives them guidance or advice or tactics, but the captain is the leader of the team on the pitch, and I think the best form of leadership is leadership by example. So that's why I have a lot of praise for Jordan Henderson, because I've never seen Jordan Henderson play a game in from my view where he's played poorly in terms of leadership, and I think that captains play a big role in why teams play well, play poorly, and I think there should be a bigger emphasis on the role of your captain as a player.
Yes,
So,
I agree with Mitch, and
I do want to say as well, like I don't want to try to have a back and forth in there. I just want to answer like the two questions, if that's okay. Sorry about that, guys. Does anybody else want to add on like to like the answer, or I think we're good, right? We good?
yeah, we good.
Good
Okay.
in terms of like answering. Okay, perfect. Obviously, this is a big loaded question. I think a lot of these guys are going to discuss about it after the whole podcast thing. But please continue this discussion when it comes to like the players versus manager debate. Comment down below. Obviously, I think a lot of people have other experiences when it comes to their teams and everything that they could connect, and it will be nice to hear it. Now, obviously, we've gone a lot over time, so I'm actually going to cut it to one more topic that we are going to talk about. It's not the VAR analysis, sadly, where we actually by application actually look at like certain situations. We're gonna actually go and talk about Qatar 2022, which has been a big talking point actually in recent times. Obviously, a lot of the atrocities that are happening, and it just comes to like when it comes to like lies of like how much they're getting paid, the forced labor that they're getting into. I don't know, Mustafa, did you have an article regarding it as well? Like,
Yeah.
if you can just show that up as well.
If I don't think everyone knows about my background, but Qatar is kind of a neighboring country from where I was born. I was born in Kuwait, and Qatar is right next to it. So most of the shit that goes down and has gone down in Qatar, I have experienced it firsthand as well. This article is taking me it's taking some time to open up.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay.
But I do want to say as well that a lot of the players during the international break has been putting like a lot of emphasis on this as well, like about the injustices that have been happening. You look at Germany, you look at Norway, for example, really talking about these issues. And apparently, one of the articles that I did see, FIFA aren't actually going to do anything about it. They said like they're free to express how they really feel about it, which is very surprising considering that, if they do talk, FIFA is like the big contributor regarding about this. And let's see the whole article right now. Yeah. All right. So
now this article was published in 2018.
All right.
It says this article is more than 2 years old. Yeah, this was posted in 2018. And over here it talks about like how the workers, the expats, the foreign workers that come on work visa, they're being exploited. They're not being paid. They're being paid lower than minimum wage and stuff like that. Okay. This article is 3 years old. It's surprising. It's surprising how, like, right now we're rising up against it. Like, right now we're starting to talk about it. It's been an issue for years. It's been in the highlight before. It's not like this came out of nowhere. People have talked about it, but no one recognized the issue. No one gave it a headlight. And that is my major problem. Like, why are we talking about it right now? It's done. It's already done. Everything's done. When they had to build the stadiums, I saw the footages and how terrible it was for the workers. And the quarters that they lived in. It was terrible. I'm not against, like, sorry, let me just end this. Yeah.
No
I'm not
worries.
against like rising up against it, but now it's a bit too late. Now you can't do much. The workers that have already been exploited, they're done. They've gone back to their home countries. Maybe forced back. I'm not sure, but they're not gonna get the recognition for, first of all, building a football stadium, which is a big thing, and not only just a World Cup stadium, a football stadium.
Right, and of course, like you look at like the amount of deaths that did happen during this time as
Yeah.
well. Like, you know, there's so many other topics that we can look into as well. Like in terms of like just humanitarian issues right now that is not being. But it's not the moment in time to talk about it. Let's just focus specifically on this as well. Does Qatar really need to put reparations for a lot of these workers that have been working with it, like high amounts of money? Because again, Qatar is considered one of like a pretty rich place, I would say, and they do have the funding to be able to give these things. The fact that they haven't done it, should we be fighting? Should a lot of these people be fighting for giving these people reparations for the duties that they deserve reparations as well? Because at the end of the day, they are being underpaid. A lot of people have been suffering casualties because of it, and even though it is late right now, is there still something we can do in terms of reparations that they could get?
Mainly we could raise the thing that the reparations that they could be done is we could raise donations. They can set up donations. That's the only thing that can be done at the moment. I mean, this matter, nobody took it into consideration. First of all, Qatar is a bad decision that they made for playing the FIFA World Cup. It's a really bad decision. Um, Imagine you go and play in a hot sunny day, a very hot sunny day, where it's usually dangerous and you tend to get heat
I
strokes.
do want to add on that they are putting like air conditioning towards it as well. It's not going to be, it's not what it
Yeah.
is, right? But
I want to add another thing to
Yes,
Akhil's
go ahead.
point. When it was announced that Qatar was going to hold the 2022 World Cup, the stadiums that were booked, they didn't even exist at that point. They didn't even exist. They started building the stadiums when the World Cup announcement was made that it was going to be held in Qatar.
And yeah, that's for sure. And one more thing is, you put it in during the normal World Cup timings, like it's June and July usually, right? And that's the hottest period in Qatar. That's the hottest
yeah,
months in Qatar, and you have risk of players getting heat stroke. They Most of the European players they're used to playing in the cold and the mild temperatures, and you take them to such a hot place. I know it's just like just a it's a tournament and they get to play a few games, but training needs they need to get out and do the training, and not all the training grounds are closed indoors, and they can't have an indoor training ground. They need to have an open air training ground in
I
terms
do
of.
want to ask as well, if you don't mind as well.
Yeah,
Is it gonna be? Is it gonna be hosted in winter though as well,
that has a problem too if it's gonna
or
be
is it gonna be
hosted
in the
in winter.
summer that they are gonna have it?
Not sure.
I think it's the
I thought it
summer.
was summer.
I don't.
Summer, yeah, I think it is. I'm gonna add on to, or I'm gonna disagree with one of the things that Akil said when you asked about reprimations, right? How could we, I guess, make it up to them? He said something about donations, right? I think,
Yeah.
I think approaching a problem by covering it up is a terrible idea. And like covering it up, what I mean
Yeah.
is instead of tackling it at the root where the issue stems from, pouring a bit of sand to make it look covered on the top is not enough. What
Yeah,
needs to
and
be
like
done
and you're talking about donations. You're talking about donations from other people. Why should other people pay for something that their government has done wrong?
Right.
exactly, like whoever was supposed to be paying them should be held accountable. And the thing is, see, if one country, right, and only one federation takes a big stance and is like, I'm not gonna, let's say Germany, if they take a big participate and no one else comes in and joins them, then it's gonna look terrible for them, and it's just not gonna be worth it from their perspective. If they manage to get if they manage to get multiple big countries on board, where the whole not integrity, but the whole reputation of um the World Cup itself could be at stake, I think that is the best way of getting change to happen. But that is, again, every country is going to look at it from their perspective, and they're going to be like, I don't want to get involved in it because it's a safer. It's not the best option, but it's a safer option for them. So that's what they do.
Hafiz, yes. The donations is a bad idea, but it's done. Like how Mustafa said earlier, it's done. The damage is done. They've built the stadiums. They've been exploited and they've been sent back.
Yeah, but that's
I
what I'm
don't.
saying. Like the government
Yeah,
needs to do something. Sorry, the government
about
needs to
it.
do something
Like,
in their own accord to make amends for that, right? We've seen many times before that, when big things did happen, like with Hiroshima and Nagasaki, right? They paid right away the reparations for that. That's what I mean, right? There's no point in paying. It's like for Qatar, right? If they pay it like later on and everything after the event, there's no point. They need to do it right away.
Right away.
So
yeah,
Totally get it.
definitely.
It's not like it's a broke country. They're one of the richest countries in the world.
yeah.
Well, the World Cup's going to be in the winter, by the way. It's from this November to December.
And that has a problem.
Wait,
Yeah,
for real?
that is a problem as well.
Like, confirmed?
Yeah.
Because think about it this way as well. Like let's look at it in a in a footballing point of view. Obviously, we see the humanitarian; it's absolutely horrific and everything. I think people should speak out more about this. We should hear about it more often than what it was. And it should have been spoken about it earlier. To be quite fair, obviously it was spoken little by little, but it should have been a world issue, 100%. But let's look at it in a player's point of view. Players are going to play, the Champions League and the Europa League and everything. Now they have to ship their schedule as well to allocate for that. So when you really think about it, more games are going to be congested. More games are going to be played. And considering there's an international tournament right now that's going to happen, which is the Euros, and then another one back-to-back. That's going to make a big toll.
They're going to have to extend the season into the summer. So they're going to have to play even longer. And then who knows what's going to happen for the season after that, because they're not going to have any break period. So.
And there won't be any
Champions League.
preseason friendlies, and the same 2021 season will repeat.
To be fair.
Yes.
Sorry, yeah. No, to be fair though, like COVID didn't help at all with the Euros being this year. So now that I think about it, right, giving them specifically from an international perspective, giving them a couple more months in the summer is maybe not the worst idea. Because like otherwise it's going to be back-to-back summers of having an international tournament.
So, you really got a question as well. Like, is it even worth having the World Cup at this moment? Obviously, we've seen Canada as well performing really well. And it kind of does suck for them if they do make it to the World Cup for the first time, that it may have to get delayed or anything. But isn't it better because at the end of the day, we look at football as one thing, right? But when it comes to humanitarian rights, does that weigh in? It definitely does weigh in more than, you know, as well as like scheduling wise, and then you have to put these
Mhm.
other factors into consideration. So, and
And
bear in mind
also,
as well, a lot of these workers, right? They come from less fortunate countries. You look at like the Philippines, like Sri Lanka. You know, they get people from there to actually work in those places as well, and it's just absolutely the treatment that it does happen. It's absolutely horrific, and it's been well documented as well. Some of these situations as well when it comes to
Definitely.
these countries as well, and they do need to be talked into, right? But I do think, you know, players' point of view, when you look at like the footballing side, it just doesn't bode well. It's just going to be mixed up, kind of like this year. It's been absolutely horrific, especially with lockdowns and everything, just mixed and jumbled up in and of itself. So
Yeah.
and I mean,
And
the
sorry.
stadiums aren't the only thing that's been built by these workers. There are a lot of violations has been occurred earlier, I guess, pretty much. Because if you have seen the skyscrapers, most of them built it, and I know this is going off topic, but it comes under the same light. Workers being humanitarian issue, the workers being under the limelight at the moment. You know what I'm saying?
hmm
Definitely.
do you want to say
It's,
something?
it's much deeper than football.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just to answer Mustafa's question or to respond to him, like he suggested that it's too late, and you're right. In this scenario, it's too late, but you do realize that if nothing happens, nothing's going to change in the future too, right? So what should be done right now is focus on avoiding it happening in the future. And how do you
Yeah.
avoid it from happening in the future? Monetary punishment, like that's what matters most to them,
Yeah.
right? Hit them where it hurts. That's the only way.
I agree with that. I didn't mean it to be like leave it as it is. I mean, there should be severe consequences because you've risked people's lives. Like people have died, and it's not a small thing. People have died because of football. That's a ridiculous statement.
Yeah.
People have died because of football. Not playing football, not supporting football, by helping football grow. They have died because of that. And it's ridiculous. It should never come to that.
Mhm.
Like, how desperate do you have to be? And the donations point, I don't think donations are enough. As Hafiz said, that there should be punishment. Like the consequences should be severe.
Yep. Yep. Totally.
I have a question for you. Who's gonna provide that punishment?
Uh, I don't know. I don't know either.
Well, I mean, let's look at it this way, right?
I have a possible.
Wait, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Sure. I think advertisers are the biggest one.
Yep.
Get advertisements to pull away. That's it. They lost.
I mean,
I
for
mean,
someone,
it would technically affect the players as well, like the teams.
Oh,
It would
so
I mean, they're not gonna get paid as well. Like, no footballer is gonna step on that pitch.
Well, like not to sound like
bro, we're
harsh
talking
or
about the World
anything,
Cup.
but like
They get paid by their
it,
clubs.
yeah, it makes it a bigger influence if
Sorry.
they give players incentive to not want to play. Like even though how shallow that sounds, like it probably is the best way that they can actually
Yes.
influence.
and I mean, like, look at it this way, right?
Yeah, because
Hafiz, you wanted to say something or?
no, just quickly to add on Mitch's point.
Okay.
Instead of just having the federations against you, if now the federations and every single player is against you, you're going to be more likely to comply.
And I mean, like Qatar in and of itself, it's not like, yes, they have a big industry and everything, but it's not like, in terms of economically wise, there's other places to do it. I think it is possible if, you know, and it's sad at the end of the day that, because of how things are connected economically, you know, they have more protection. That is a horrible thing as well, that we live in a world like that, you know. It's very difficult to make like these world like decisions regarding it if it does control a certain amount of economy. And again, but that's a little bit too political in that sense to go into other branches. I can use so many examples, but I don't want to at least dwell into that at this moment in time. So,
Mhm.
can it be
I had a
possible? Yeah, yeah.
I had a point. Yeah, I mostly think they chose Qatar as a center point for the World Cup, mainly because it's more commercialized. Commercialized, exactly. The money
Mm-hmm.
point, if you see in that point of view, it's mainly because it's commercialized, and Qatar owns some big football clubs like Paris Saint-Germain, and all these, and they want it to be more commercialized and more people to visit, and they have a lot of tourists per year in Qatar.
I mean,
A lot of people.
Is it Qatar or is it the sheikhs specifically? I mean, you gotta.
Okay,
And
Don't put around.
Qatar's most of the population is sheikhs. Let's be
Right.
honest here.
okay,
It's mostly sheikhs. I mean, if we're not considering like the expats and the foreigners, if we put them aside because of, that's a whole different topic. If you put the foreigners aside, most of the people from Qatar are sheikhs.
Right. 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 Okay.
so that's the main thing, commercialization. That's why they put everything into stake, and now it became a humanitarian crisis, and people don't want to talk about it before, and they're
Or at
talking
least
right now.
mainstream. Yeah. Um. Obviously, this is a very deep topic, and obviously, until that we get more information later on what could happen or what possibilities that it could change. Do you think this is possible, or do you think that the World Cup, regardless, is gonna push forward and it's gonna happen?
I agree with
Gonna push forward.
Hafiz. I agree with Hafiz and Mitch. Mitch said that players should be given the choice to play or not, and I I think that's right. Um, I think players should pull out. It's a big decision. Uh, they might risk their position in international football, but I think humanity is bigger than money, of course. And if the players really care, if they really want to spread awareness, that's the way to do it, and not just wear t-shirts.
Okay.
Exactly.
Actually, no,
Exactly.
Matusa, I know you've been quite quiet about that, but obviously, I think you've heard a little bit about the Qatar issues that are happening right now. What's your thoughts on that as well? I mean, I know you work with actually UNICEF, to be fair. I think you may look at like little aspects regarding this. I mean, what's your thoughts on the whole thing?
Well, the thing is that based on like the humanitarian crisis, I know people are saying like it's too late now, but with all of like the publicity that it's getting, I feel like that's when we need to continue raising awareness and eventually like um hopefully it it will bring a change, and like Mustafa said, it starts within ourselves, so like the players also have to acknowledge that, and hopefully if they do care, then they'll know what they need to do. And unfortunately, because of like Qatar being like the host of the World Cup, they like, based on how they're doing like commercially and all that stuff, they've made social progress because of that. So yeah.
Hmm. Does anybody have any final remarks before we continue this off? Because I know this one, it's kind of like a little bit of a really touchy subject, especially with a lot of people that have been affected by it going forward. I think we definitely do want to talk about this issue again if we do have more information regarding it, and we'll see what happens going forward. But I think it is a good message. I think we do need to collectively in of itself push this message on, and for people that have been watching it, if you're watching it, put this in mind, right? Because at the end of the day, a lot of people have been pushing it, and to be fair, it's been talked about many times as well in the football sphere. I think a lot of people do know that in the first place, but it's about what can you do to really make an impact. And does anybody else want to say anything finally before we wrap things up?
Akilesh, go ahead.
Football is the only thing that's bringing in this into light, but this has been happening since a long while. I think Mustafa can agree with this. It's not only with football stadiums, it's been the whole thing that they've been built on, the commercial success. It's beyond football. It's beyond football stadiums. This is the only we are talking about this only because the World Cup is happening there, and they're being building stadiums for the World Cup, which didn't exist before, and it's being built for the World Cup, but it's beyond it. It's beyond football stadiums. It's just a whole issue of itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Mustafa.
I'm gonna share a personal experience, and this is quite sad.
Okay.
I've seen people in Kuwait at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., sitting on the curbside of a road. Like, it was a terrible experience. Like, hundreds of people in a line sitting on the curbside, waiting for someone to come in a car, in a truck, in a van, to come and pick them up so they could go to work. And this was not on a contract basis. This was on like a daily basis. Like you get paid daily. So you work that day, you get paid. And none of their jobs were safe. So it was like they were being paid daily. There was no commitment. And most of the time, 60, 70, sometimes even 80% of the people were left over there. They didn't get any money on that day. And considering how low they're being paid, my father told me that a day's pay over there is 5 to 15 Kuwaiti dinar. Now, one Kuwaiti dinar is about 4 Canadian dollars. So you can convert that to like 40 Canadian dollars for working a full day. A full day of work is 40 Canadian dollars. And Kuwait is not a cheap country. Kuwait is like a rich country. Kuwait's currency is the highest right now in value. And it's quite sad to see like people sitting outside from 5 a.m. to like whenever they get picked. I've seen people risk their lives to stay in Kuwait. I've seen them being dragged off of the road as if their lives depended on it. They were there to earn money, and that's about it. And they don't get any respect from the government. Now, I'm not saying that all Kuwaitis are bad or all Arab governments are bad, but it's a common trend in rich Arab countries. It's a common trend. And it's quite sad that they don't get shown the same respect as their locals.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely hear you on that one. I mean, like I said before, I wish I can expand on other topics as well, but they're quite, at the moment in time, I don't want to really like do things as well, like try to divert things. But at this moment, I think it is the right time to talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
Regarding it.
I really wish the World Cup gets moved somewhere else rather.
I think people wish that it wasn't put in that position after seeing
First,
what's happening. I mean,
I mean,
Mitch,
the
you wanted to
mistake
add
is
one more thing, right?
It was kind of like an off-topic thing. Like, no, it's alright. It's alright.
Okay. I guess that's really something to keep in mind as well. And you know, when you hear these things as well, you really put into perspective where you are right now and where you are, or you could be there as well, and you really got to put things into perspective. People are very lucky to we are very lucky to live in a country where, you know, you're able to get paid really well and the salary is really good, this and that. And when you see countries like that just being treated in that certain way and certain point of view, it's just horrendous. If you guys, it is a very touchy subject as well, and if you really do want to continue this conversation, please comment down in the comments below. Share this video as well, because I think not a lot of people would talk about it in this certain way, in this certain point of view. And I think the more exposure you do talk about these tough subjects, you know, and it's because it's a sport you love as well. I think it's a brilliant thing. But yeah, thank you so much, guys, for coming by for all these topics. We gotta end it. We couldn't do a sixth topic as well regarding this, but thank you so much, guys, for coming by and talking about it. And we will be sure to have more of these talks and everything. There's our last big event happening, apart from a couple of streams that we're gonna be having left. So do go and check them out. And all the links in the description below for all these guys. And yeah, like I said, like, share, subscribe to all of these podcasts available. And yeah, hope to see you coming by soon, yeah?
And all thanks to Thivian for making this happen for the second time and being his I think
sir.
it's over.
Yes,
His birthday is over.
sir.
Yeah, it's over, but you know.
Happy
Sure,
birthday,
please.
bro. Hey, no, it still is, okay? Okay, while he's with us, it still is.
It still is, yeah. So we decided we'll keep it on
Happy
second.
birthday, bro.
I would
I
Happy
appreciate it.
birthday to you.
Bro, it's past
Happy birthday to
Happy birthday
Nah.
to you.
it's still
Yo, y'all are boring. Come on, join in.
No, bro, it's around.
you. Oh my god.
All right, but yeah, as always, guys, y'all take care and
Fair
peace.
enough.